What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 69 of C4SVillains. I am your host JB and I am here with the Council of Villains, my boys Vash, Abe, and Chris, and we are here to talk about the finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for this finale review.
3 weeks in a row. I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you.
I'm here for 5 weeks in a row.
I'm here for this is my first week in a row. This is the starting point. This is the start incident days. I can say 1 day since an incident. That's me. That's me.
It's good to have you back, bro. Seriously.
It is a pleasure to see you on camera in the same show.
I'm not gonna make no promises about that.
Wait until the end of the episode to decide whether or not it's a pleasure. I will say I'm happy to be hanging out with Abe again. We've only been talking in our group chat, so it's been a while since I've seen him. So
that is very true.
This should be a lot of fun.
The last time we did an episode together, me and you, Chris, wasn't that during Peacemaker?
I never did any of the Peacemaker episodes, so
you
it
didn't
must have
hop
been
on for
even
any one
before that.
Moon Knight?
Moon Knight?
No.
It's been a long time. I know that.
Really? So wait, we haven't done one this year yet then?
Hey, time flies, guys.
Yeah, maybe not. I feel like we've done at least one this year.
I thought so too, but if we didn't do Peacemaker, didn't do Moon Knight.
Yeah, we had Christian on for one of the Peacemaker episodes.
We had him on for
Whatever Marvel show was before that, I'm pretty sure I was on one of those.
Before because I didn't do Hawkeye.
Dude, then this may be the first episode we've done together this year.
And I didn't do any of the movie reviews either. Oh shit, yeah, damn. Wow, we about to end the 6th month of the year too. Holy shit.
Oh, that is true. We're about to end the 6th month.
Oh god.
What a reunion this will be. Right? James and I are at each other's throats.
We just missing Steve at this point. That's all we're missing.
It just fits perfectly fine for the 69.
Oh boy. Anyways, moving into the announcements for this episode, you've got to see this. Episode 11 is out right now. They reviewed Lightyear, Hustle, and the Bollywood film RRR. Definitely go over there, check it out. Let them know that the Villains crew sent you. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Villains audio only feed. Leave us a comment on there, leave us a rating, and we will read that comment right here on live. Make sure you're following Abe on Twitch. Make sure you're following Anime Lately, and of course, make sure you're following Popaholics, because we are talking about some great shit, and these are some great creators, and they make great content on their own platform, so make sure you support them. So what are we here for tonight? We are here to talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale. I've been loving this series so much. Every single episode that we get becomes my new favorite episode, and it doesn't happen all the time. That rarely happens for me. And it's just like, this is just so fucking good. The writing's been good. The acting has been really good. I will say, when it comes to the fight sequences, I do wish some things were a little bit tighter. I believe it was episode 4, where we're at Fortress Inquisitorius. Tala with those stormtroopers, it was some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen. She literally just like smacks the bottom of the mask of one of the stormtroopers. I guess he just kind of falls, and then she just slaps the other one and blasts one. Some of it is ridiculous, right? But everything else, the cinematography, the scoring from what is her name? I can't remember her name right now. Natalie Holt, yeah. Her score mixed in with John Williams' score and using the different themes with the different characters. I've been fucking loving Obi-Wan.
Tonight is the night that we find out whether or not James likes this show more than season 1 of Mandalorian, I believe.
Yes, this is when you'll find out.
But my side comment was, for that slap to a stormtrooper, I wonder how was it on set in production that everyone just let that slide. Everyone's like, all right, guys, good shot, next scene. And I'm like, nobody would have questioned, like,
a single take. We're moving on.
Anybody would have questioned, like, are we sure we should just let this slide on a Star Wars shot? Are you sure the slap is really convincible for us to approve this? Everyone should like, all right, guys, good scene. Let's go. Next take. I don't know, like that. Like once I saw that, my production brains just click. It just questioned that scene so much. Of like, they really let this slide. Like, it's nobody on set. Nobody.
What's the point of the helmets?
Nobody.
If you're damaged by a slap? Like, I don't get it.
We've already talked about how those helmets are just so poorly designed. So I mean, it makes sense to me
I think it was Chris that brought it up that week that I missed, saying that they could see only so little, so probably the slap work or something, or
that
that
stormtrooper didn't even see the slap coming. He was taken off guard. That's why he was just knocked out in one hit.
Well, anyway, James, go ahead. My apologies.
Yeah, but Abe, you haven't been on for any of the other reviews, so just quickly, like, what has been like your thoughts on Obi-Wan so far, like right before the finale?
Y'all know who I look up to if it's not dark side, you know? It is Darth Vader. And mind you, remember Chris, and this is why I feel like we've had to have done a show together, but it seems like a lot of our communication has been in the group chat. Mm-hmm. Remember before the show, when I had learned the fact that, you know, in the original trilogy of Star Wars, the OG movies, the old Johns, you get a total of 45 minutes of screen time from Darth Vader. All right. You know, it's not so much about him, but more what's surrounding him.
Right.
My expectations,
like this menacing presence, basically.
Exactly. So my expectation for Obi-Wan was something similar. I thought, like, you know, overall we probably get a few minutes of Vader, nothing serious. But then I think it was episode 3 where it was a true like Vader episode. Like it was all Vader legit the whole time.
Where he's like walking through the village, like pulling people from their homes. Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, it starts off with us seeing Vader as he's getting his suit attached to him. And then it's everything like, I thought like, all right, they're going to show us that and go back to Obi-Wan. No, we stay with Vader for majority of that fucking episode. I was shocked. And then we keep getting more Vader. Bro, that's all I ever wanted. That's legit all I ever wanted, Joe.
It's great stuff. I just wanted
Vader. In terms of me being an Anakin and Darth Vader fan, this show has given me what I wanted. Everything from episode 1 leading up until episode 5, and I won't get into episode 6 yet until it's time. But everything about it was just really, really fun. Leia is her parents' kid for real. That's Annie's daughter, yo, for real. That's Padme's daughter for real. Everything, you know, just the struggle Obi-Wan was going through. Even the characters that we got introduced to, the lightsaber fights were some of my favorite. That Reva Vader fight, that shit was cold. Shit was so cold by Vader, yo. Everything was so good.
You are watching a master at work.
Enjoying it. Yeah, I've just been enjoying everything. Like, you know, it's not the perfect show, mind you. I'm so sorry, guys. I still need to watch Boba Fett. So I haven't gotten there yet. And there's
you really just need to watch like the last 3 episodes of that series.
Stop. Watch the whole thing.
I gotta watch the whole thing. But mind you, again, you know, I'm going through my chronological Star Wars binge. You know, at the moment I've taken a pause on Clone Wars just because when Obi-Wan came out, I was like, I have to watch that. So I put a pause on Clone Wars so I can enjoy. And fortunately, I've rewatched enough where a lot of the flashbacks and whatnot, the Obi-Wan hit a bit better because of the recency, you know, the closeness to Clone Wars and whatnot, since that's basically where we're picking up from 10 years from Revenge of the Sith, you know, in the role Clone Wars plays. But I've just been enjoying the show, like, overall, and I know this is too early to give it now, we should save it for the end, but overall, what I want to say is that this show gets an 8 out of 10 for me. You know, it's and I'll explain why it's an 8 because of one single word that I'll mention later. But I've really been enjoying Obi-Wan. I really have. It's been really good.
Yeah, single word or 2 words?
No, just one word.
Hello there.
Hello there. Also happy to say that. Then I was like, yes. Oh.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this is the kind of finale that you want. There's everything that you want from the fans. You know, Obi-Wan doing the iconic pose, you know, that we've seen him do throughout the years of Star Wars. So many iconic things, lines, callbacks to Revenge of the Sith. Like, there's so much great shit. Like, dude, I don't know about you guys, but randomly, I just thought of Alderaan. Every time I see Alderaan, it's like, oh, it's so pretty for now.
Let's give it 9 years.
Oh, what was
and it's like seeing crazy. Bail Organa, like, this is like, besides, I mean, obviously we see him again in Rogue One, and I hope we see him again in like Andor, since it's, you know, before Rogue One, but it's like we're gonna lose him, you know, in A New Hope, you know, so it really sucks. Yeah. But let's get into the review. I'm not going to bury the lead anymore. So how we're going to break down this review, we're going to talk about all of the Obi-Wan and Vader scenes first. Then we're going to get into all of the scenes with Reva, Owen, and Beru. We're going to cut to Mustafar, Alderaan, and then Tatooine, covering the entire episode. So let's get into it, right? Getting into the first thing that's happening with Obi-Wan and Anakin. We have Obi-Wan on the ship. He's on Roken's ship. Their shields won't last much longer. We have fucking Vader's Star Destroyer shooting lasers at it, and Roken is working on the hyperdrive, right? And he needs more time. So this is Obi-Wan's time to step up, and I love this. You can see how confident he is. When you think about where he started from episode 1 to where he is now, I think we've seen a true progression of his confidence and his need to step in and be a hero.
He's getting there.
Yeah, he's getting there. And when he's talking to the people, it's like, you've protected the Jedi for 10 years. Like, let me do the same for you. Like, and it's that, and it's also the fact that he needs this closure with Vader. So, Chris, starting with you, what did you think about that opening scene?
I think it's a good opening sequence. I really like the stuff with Obi-Wan and Leia in the sequence. Her trying to use Lola to calm all the passengers, and then him going up to her and being like, maybe I should borrow Lola to calm me down, essentially. Her saying goodbye and sneaking Lola into his pocket. It's all really fantastic stuff between the two of them. But this is good. I'm waiting for what comes after,
Hey, what about you? What did you think about the opening to this episode?
I enjoyed it. It was what we expected, given off where we left off last week. Like, hey, he's feeling kind of weird about something because, hey, Reva just found out that there's another Skywalker child out there. So it's just that tension that built is like, yeah, but similar to Chris, I'm like, all right, now what's next? What's next? I need to get, this is a season finale. You need to give me stuff. So I was eager. I was like, all right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. But
I will say one thing I neglected to mention just now. The scene with him reaching out into the Force and trying to reconnect with Qui-Gon again. I've really liked this thread over the course of the whole series where, like, he's talking to no one, or at least he thinks he's talking to no one. He thinks the Force is not communicating back to him. And I'm glad that they did it again in this episode for things that we will talk about toward the end of this episode. Just reminding the audience, this is something he's been trying to do over the last 10 years and hasn't been successful with it. So yeah, it's a great reminder and a great scene.
Vash, what about you?
It's just nice to see Roken get more scenes to talk instead of just instead of body language, to see like how excited Ice Cube's son was, very hyped to be in the show of Star Wars, and for him to actually be part of this and talking. It's nice to see him more interacting with Obi-Wan. And I like the line he said that, hey, I hope you continue to be a good leader because there's not many out there. So I hope we see him again in the next series called Andor in a couple months, because it'll be nice to see him. If he dies in Andor, shit happens. It makes sense. But I hope to see that his character is still part of the rebellion. Maybe he was one of those ships in Star Wars Rebels, Rogue One, in New Hope, one of those ships that just flew in and everything. But Leia, the speech, like Obi-Wan, Roken knew that he wasn't doing this for the people. He was also doing this for himself. Roken said, like, wait, you're choosing to go out there. I love how Obi-Wan didn't really answer. He just let it slide. He was like, I'm not going to answer you, my guy. I'm going to just keep this to myself. But yes, so it was just nice to see that. And I love the scene right after that Darth was like, oh, Obi-Wan, that's him right there. And boy Grand Chris was like, my lord, we should chase the people, not fuck Obi-Wan. You're like,
the voice of reason.
Ignore you, my guy. He told his whole starship, chase that one single ship just because I said so.
So I do have a problem with that scene.
Same.
My thing is, I'm like, oh, okay, Vader, take your ship and follow Obi-Wan and let the fucking destroyer follow the rebels.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
Why not just do that? Let Grand Inquisitor lead the charge to get the rebels, and then you go after Obi-Wan. You have your own ship. Like, why not do that? Because
No,
now
you hang back until I return.
Yeah, the destroyer's
Wait
just
in the
hanging
atmosphere.
above the moon, like doing nothing. So I did have a problem with that scene. I will say that.
Or Darth Vader could tell you, okay, Grand Inquisitor, you would like to go. You chase those rebels. I chase Obi-Wan with my starship.
No, because Vader hates the Inquisitors. So I don't think he would do that. But it's just like still, you know?
Still, like, it's still one of the options he could have done.
Right.
Instead, again, for plot purposes, could lay us on the ship. They need him to escape. So I get it. I was like, okay, for certain purposes, I get it. Why there was no more lines or said. So, like, those Grand Inquisitor starships just literally float in the air. They're just literally probably on the phone, do some TikTok videos, so who the hell knows?
Yeah, it's a floating fortress, bro. Like, you know there's other ships like Vader's. Even if you didn't want to send the destroyer, send other ships. Like, send TIE fighters, like TIE interceptors, something. Like, anyways, it did bug me. I'm like, this makes zero sense, but plot,
Agreed.
I guess, right? So after that, Obi-Wan, right before Obi-Wan leaves, though, he asks Haja to make sure that Leia gets back to Alderaan. I love this character that Kumail Nanjiani has in this series. Like, I'm glad he's not doing more. Like, I'm glad it wasn't like forced upon us, you know, because just like this is a story between like the parallels between Obi-Wan and Anakin and like a bunch of different things. To give him more screen time, I don't think it would have made sense. He's just in there the perfect amount of time. So I really, really appreciated that, right? And I also love that Obi-Wan gives Leia Tala's holster. I think that's really, really cool. And like, what did you guys think about that? I thought that was a great gift. I do have a question how they got her holster, though.
Didn't he say that Roken grabbed it before they got out or something?
How?
When?
I don't know when.
How and
blew
when?
herself up.
Exactly. So when?
But
And not only did she give herself up, she used a grenade and to blow, like,
Yeah.
you know.
So
I'm
like,
not going back to look for a holster of a woman who blew herself up for us.
exactly. So I'm like, that's another plot. Like, that's the one I question more than a Grand Inquisitor. So like, wait, Roken literally went back. When did he have the time for that?
Look,
when we literally
I
had
see
Darth
why
Vader
they did
walking
it.
through.
I see why they did it. You know, this was their moment to be like, yo, Leia, this is what you're going to be. You're going to be using this holster in the
And when
future.
she gets older, like it's very reminiscent of like the Princess Leia comics. She does have, you know, a similar type holster. So it makes sense of how she got it, you know, much like explaining how Han got his blaster. You know, like it is, but it's just like, it doesn't make sense because she had her blaster, she had the holster when she blew up.
There are multiple instances over the course of this series where the script decides to placate toward emotion rather than logic. And, you know, honestly, like that's important. You know, like we should feel things as we are watching film and television shows. If you start to ask too many questions, and this isn't the first thing within the Star Wars universe where you're like, if you dig too deep, it's all going to fall apart. You know, so like it's more
my
just like
chronological watch order is evidence of that enough because nothing makes sense chronologically when you come to all this. There's a lot of inconsistencies with everything.
So just kind of like take it as it hits you. You know, don't think too much about it.
And I don't. It's just as a critic, it's just like, I mean, you know, it doesn't make sense. While I'm watching it, I'm not like bothered, but it's just like if I'm critiquing something, it's like, this is a glaring issue. This is a problem.
If I could put the cherry on top to this, the other reason they gave her the holsters because at the end, when she was getting dressed up, she dressed herself up and she used the gloves that Obi-Wan bought her and the holster that she, like James brought up, that she's going to be using in the future. So it was also paying homage of who's the person she's going to be in the future. So the holster, the gloves, and she dressed herself up. Like in the first episode, she had other people dress her up, and this time it was herself that she dressed herself up, and not trying to trick her parents no more. So she's taking her role more serious, like she told her father at then, like, I'm gonna do a couple of changes. Like, damn girl, you already got plans.
I mean, yeah, I mean she has to get to where she is in A New Hope in 9 years, so it's like this is where she starts. You know, I did like that.
I don't want to seem too snarky. this early in the episode, but this is just kind of like the first thing that the show's asking of you, where it's like, don't think about it. You know, don't even worry. You know, just let the emotion wash over you. Like,
yeah,
it's fine. You know, and we'll get to it further into the episode, but yeah.
Yeah, but Vader takes his no, you're good. Vader takes his ship, follows Obi-Wan onto this moon. We land, and I just love the cinematography of this moon. Like, you just have Obi-Wan standing there behind all of these giant boulders. You have Vader on the other side of him standing in the void of nothingness right under like the crescent planet, if you will. And I just, again, the cinematography is so good here. And Vader is like, have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan? And Obi-Wan's like, I will do what I must. Same thing he says to Vader in Revenge of the Sith. I love all of these callbacks, right? And then he does the epic Obi-Wan pose. I love this. I fucking love this. Every time I see it.
General Kenobi, or at least he's super close to becoming a fully fledged General Kenobi in this moment.
Yes.
It's just seeing that, it got me hyped because like Abe, I was watching Clone Wars randomly throughout the months, and most recently I was this close to watch Rogue One and Clone Wars again this past week, just because of how much I'm in the mood of Star Wars. And to see him do that pose, I was like, damn, that's just awesome, just to see him like, General Kenobi. And in my head, in the back of my head, I just heard Darth Maul just screaming, Kenobi! So I was like, good memories.
Yeah, like I can't wait to talk about all of those scenes once we get to when the mask splits. That's all some good shit. So let's start it off. Abe, I'm gonna
get me excited about that one. Don't get me excited about that one.
I'm gonna start with you. Let me get some of your favorite moments from the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin right before Obi-Wan goes into the pit.
Okay, so for me, I love, so this is basically Obi-Wan versus Vader part 2, right? Part 1, it was more one-sided. Vader was beating that man's ass, and he did it gloriously.
I mean,
beating that man's
part 2
ass.
of the show, or just like overall?
No, part 2 of the show. Show.
Yeah,
part 2 of the show. Because we had the first one where Vader dragged his ass through the fire. Was like, I will show you pain. This ain't it. There's a little glimpse of what I went through, motherfucker. But hey, we gonna get there.
And somehow his arm is still good. In the past 3 episodes, his arm just like healed.
He was in a back to tank for
the back to tank is
he was there for like 5 minutes.
Before he moved out,
5 minutes, out of it. 5 minutes that we know of.
Exactly, an hour time.
All right, good point. My apologies.
But so this was like part 2 of the show. The second time we see him fight in this show, and it went differently. Leading up into the pit, you could see like, all right, Kenobi. General Kenobi is looking more like you said, Chris. This is as close as we get to General Kenobi as we possibly can. It showed. You know, I was watching. I was like, yeah, Vader, and then I'm like, ooh, Vader, you laboring. Ooh, Vader, them swings. It seems like you on the defensive, my guy. Like, Vader, I can't have you going outside. Please do something. You got Force Lightning, right? Do you not have Force Lightning? Can you use your Force
dude.
more?
Vader using Force Lightning would be super cool.
It would have been. We didn't say it would have been, but I get it. But everything about that fight, it was just. I guess this is a time where it just gave me a sense of closure that we haven't had as we go from the prequel trilogies to original trilogies. Given, I mean, they've been made in different eras of time, to be honest, so I can't really blame them. But this fight felt like closure. Like, yo, these two really need to duke it out. How often do we say amongst the homies, like, sometimes you just need to fight it out. Just throw in the boxing gloves, go a round or two, and then y'all make up after, right? This is what that was. And I absolutely love the lightsaber fights and the use of color. And I'll get more into it when we get to the mask split, and that's why the mask split is so fucking, oh my God. But overall, yeah, the fight was just, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The lightsaber fights throughout this show have been awesome, in my opinion. They've been some of the best lightsaber fight scenes we've had in all of Star Wars media. Well, no, not all of Star Wars media, because that includes comics, but all in Star Wars TV and movies, in my opinion. That this one right here, in this one right here, live action, this was done really, really well. And Obi-Wan versus Vader was just, it was it. Because ultimately we knew at the end of the day, like, yo, neither of them are going to die from this.
Right.
You know, we know that. Similar to Chris, we talked about since group chat, similar to how when we watch Rogue One, we know how that's overall going to end. So Obi-Wan, we know again, like, okay, when they had this moment, this is season finale, we know ain't nobody gonna die. Right. Like, duh.
From
but
episode
still,
1, none of these main characters can die.
We know that. But the build-up, the emotional build-up, it kept you watching. And it kept you maybe hoping for a little bit of a difference.
You just hit the nail on the head, dude. Like, it's about the emotion of the relationship between these two characters. Like, that's what is most important. That personally, that's what I wanted to get out of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, like a character piece. You know, this should be a case study about Obi-Wan's mental health, from like completely failing the galaxy to healing and becoming the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan that we know in A New Hope. You know, like, that should be the crux of what Obi-Wan Kenobi the series is about. And I think these sequences absolutely deliver on that promise to us.
If I could add, the speech he did on the ship, telling people that you protect us for all these years. Now let me protect you this once. You help us. When he said that you have protected the Jedi throughout the path and everything, when he told them, I felt the emotions that he was also telling himself this, that he has to do this and have these people safe, and he has to fight Darth. So these people could get away safely and everything. But that speech was beautiful because, like Chris just said, that he was regaining himself. He was becoming the General Kenobi he once was. Not the guy that he failed the galaxy. He knows that. But like Haja, Roken, and I forgot the girl that died. I'm sorry, James. Tala. See, you know, girls just forget up already.
You're just a monster.
Hold on. Don't be rude on Tala now. Don't be rude on Tala. Hold on. Don't be rude on her.
Ned B, my boy.
Also Ned B. Tala and Ned B.
Yeah.
We lost them both.
Pause and period. That's it. So I actually love that scene for that reason as well, because that speech was impactful for him as a character, because he was regaining himself too. So that's a point to what Chris as well was saying.
I'm gonna be real with y'all, and I don't know, maybe it's just because the type of person I am, maybe that's it. But like, the Jedi suck. Like,
no, dude, they definitely suck.
Everything about their principles, you could take their same principles, take out all the nice words, and apply it to the Sith, and you'll be like, okay, that makes sense. The idea of no emotional attachment and whatnot is like, what?
That's really like one of the points of the prequels, is that this structured religious order is terrible and
like,
fails because of how rigid it is. You know, the whole reason Anakin turns to the dark side is because of how rigid the Jedi are.
Anakin, and that's the thing. That's what I said to you in the group chat, JB. Anakin, what is so funny about Anakin is that he was one of the most powerful Jedi, mainly because he did not stick to the code. And you see that so well in the Clone Wars animated shows. It really gives you a chance to really know Anakin.
Yeah.
Him being able to tap into his emotions and whatnot is why he has been one of the greatest Jedi of them all. And because of the Jedi rules, it's also the same reason why he went to the Sith. It's like, it's your motherfucking fault.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all suck. Y'all really do suck.
That's why Obi-Wan feels so much guilt.
As fuck. Oh my goodness, yo. It just, that's all that it reminded me. It made me just the Jedi are self-serving, self-righteous. Like, y'all ain't shit. Y'all really have to understand that this life that y'all chose is detrimental to the exact goal that y'all want to accomplish. Y'all cannot be peacekeepers. Y'all cannot lead people. Y'all cannot train, protect people if you have no emotional attachment to them. Then at that point, isn't it just a job that y'all don't get paid for? First of all, y'all don't get paid for. It's not like everybody likes a Jedi in the first place. So y'all go through ridicule just to be like, yeah, you know, we save people, but I can't get attached to you. We can be, it's to the point where it's like, nah, we're not even. I can't even say you're my best friend because that means that I'm emotionally invested in you.
You would think
No.
after centuries of there
Right?
being Jedi that they would find a way to train you into accepting your feelings and being able to control them in
All the
order to be
motherfuckers need
sound,
therapy.
in order to make sound decisions instead of teaching them to essentially shut out all emotion.
Right?
Because it makes sense to a degree, right? Emotions lead to several paths to the dark side, right? We've seen it, right?
If you don't have
You should
self-control.
exactly. You should teach them how to control their emotions in order to use it, one for power and one for their own peace of mind, in order to control those heightened emotions from being force sensitive.
Instead is shut it off.
It makes no sense.
You're telling me,
But I mean, this is why Luke Skywalker
did not have a side piece.
I mean, no. I mean, they were very strict. They probably did it. That's the problem. If I was a Jedi, shit. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna be married. I'm gonna be a married Jedi. I don't care what nobody says.
Obi-Wan fell in love.
Yeah, but because of his rigidity and his loyalty to his religious order, he cast that off. You know? That's why Luke Skywalker, when he goes to rebuild the Jedi Order, allows for emotion to be incorporated into it. Because Luke understands after seeing what happened to his father, after talking to Obi-Wan, Yoda, he understands kind of the failings of the teachings, and wants to amend them and make them better. But we learn how that turns out as well. He tried. He really tried.
But continuing on, Chris, I'm going to toss it to you. Give me some of your favorite moments between Obi-Wan and Vader right before Obi-Wan falls into the pit.
Like Abe was saying, I think this is the strongest fight choreography for the entire series. I love, in episode 3, as we were talking about, Obi-Wan doesn't quite have his mojo and is just getting railed on. Vader is dominating that fight.
Beating that man's ass!
Obi-Wan's literally running from him.
Yo! When I rewatched, I kid you not, I rewatched episode 3 times. If you were to take that sequence of events when Obi-Wan's running and whatnot, put some haunting music, it would fit right into a horror movie. It would fit right into a horror movie.
Facts.
I was like, is that Michael Myers stalking his victim? Because this is very Michael Myers.
He kind of moves like him.
Mm-hmm. Because Vader's not going to start running nowhere.
You. This weekend, I'm going to do an edit of that. I got you.
All right, just don't get in trouble with Disney. You know how Disney is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the choreography is fantastic. I'll take us right up to the moment that Obi-Wan falls in the pit. Vader finally having the high ground, using his, the moment Obi-Wan's holding his own, but he's still not fully back in shape. That will come later on in the episode. So Vader is somewhat backed into a corner. At least he feels he needs to up the ante a little bit, and that's why he uses his force powers to essentially crumble the ground underneath Obi-Wan. He's kicking it up a notch. And I love that Vader finally has the high ground in this shot.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Vash, what about you?
And I fucking love this. It was just amazing. I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I saw the planet they're on and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fighting, it reminded me a bit of Aang fighting Fire Lord Ozai.
Yeah.
In the same type of scenery with all the high rocks, tall, and our boy Fire Lord Ozai was also kicking Aang's ass in this round 2, in this first round of the fighting again. So it reminded me a lot where Darth Vader was literally giving no mercy. He literally threw so many rocks. He's like, rock number 1, rock number 15, rock number 45. It's like, damn, you literally.
Dude, there's a moment where he even trips Obi-Wan with
that was one
rocks.
of my favorite moments.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so those little winks is Darth Vader will say yo, you could try to kill me, but I'm gonna kill you first before you do. That's the only thing that, again, like we said in the beginning, we know none of these characters are gonna die, but I want to feel more of the intense pressure. Again, Darth Vader did throw 25 rocks on top of Obi-Wan. But I wish he threw more just to feel more of like the intensity more. It's like, oh shit.
That
like,
was pretty
damn.
intense, bro.
I guess I'm like Abe. I just want more of like Darth Vader just like throwing like a whole.
That's
maybe
not.
like
I have
Thanos.
nothing wrong with this fight. No, the Vader
Oh,
did nothing
okay.
wrong.
So-
No.
I guess
Like, you know.
I guess I just wanted like a whole moon just brought down.
Oh my
The
God.
whole moon just brought that to
Too
And
Obi-Wan.
then he
much.
should
Like,
have
this
brought
was-
his ship down and crashed it into Obi-Wan then.
Yo,
At least
that
at least utilize it since it's already floating up there.
would have been sick, actually.
would have been sick, and I would
If
have
he
no
picked
problem.
up the ship with the Force and threw it at Obi-Wan,
Oh
oh
my
We
my
know that
God.
God.
we know he's strong enough to move a ship. That was also a pretty dope thing about episode 5 is that this shit flew off and he's like, bring that ass here. Even though they tricked him, which I thought was pretty clever in itself too. I like that, but I'm like, oh my God.
Because Obi-Wan knew.
Is he really bringing? I mean, I realize it's empty, so it's not as heavy as it could be. But god damn, that ain't no small ship he pulling down. Like, okay, he could have easily used like, you know what? I don't really need my. No, where your ship out? Let me get your ship, Obi-Wan. All right, let me smack you upside the head.
I mean, the fucking Star Destroyer is right above the moon. Like, he could just call someone to pick him up.
Yeah, but he got exactly. He could have used his ship. And that's probably what they should have done, because then it would have made sense. Like, okay, that's why you didn't have him go off, because he was planning to use anything to get this fight done, even his own ship. He was willing to strand himself. That's why the Star Destroyer was waiting up there, because he was about to beam me up, Scotty. I'm so sorry, Star
The
Destroyer.
Star Destroyers can't enter the atmosphere, though. So how would he get to the Star Destroyer?
No. Beam me up, Scotty.
Okay, yeah.
Sure, man.
We'll Star Trek.
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done. I know Star Trek. I know Trek.
It cuts to Mr. Scott on the Star Destroyer, beaming Darth Vader up. That would have really, if the fandom wasn't broken already, Abe, that would have completely.
It would combine both fandoms to just hate one company, I guess.
Like, Kathleen Kennedy really doesn't know what she's doing.
Don't get me started.
But to add to that scene more, Abe brought something beautiful. I love how this planet was completely dark. I love how this planet had no type of light. The only lightness was just from the space itself, the shining light. And I love how the only brightness we had was the lightsabers itself.
Yeah.
The whole cinematography, the camera shots, like Chris brought up, Anakin, Darth Vader finally had the damn high ground. And to show that it already got flip tossed after when our boy Obi-Wan just threw all the rocks, but I'm not going to jump to ahead. Just showing the camera shot and the lighting, it was beautiful how it reminded me a bit in the scene of the Batman at the very end when the only light we had was the torch. The same thing here. The only light we had was the two lightsabers. So again, beautiful shots to that. They thought that very well for the fight. And the scene where both of them was very small and the camera shot was panning through the rocks, also great shot as well.
Yeah, amazing shots, amazing camera work during this scene. Like, so
And
good.
I'm so sorry, JB, because I know you have a certain structure, but I'm here and I told you what I was about, right? All right, so you mentioned something, Vash, and this goes back to something else that you mentioned too, Chris, the cinematography. And you mentioned, Chris, the word emotion. Every episode, the shots where you knew that they zoomed into the face here, they are focused on it. They're using lighting, and not just lighting of the environment, but of the lightsabers.
The blueness,
going back to episode 3, they're wearing complete darkness. The only light you see is from. That's why I'm like, yo, that could be a good, because literally the only light that Obi-Wan is using is his blue lightsaber, and it's not giving him too much light. And then out of the darkness, you hear breathing, then you see the chest plate. Like, yo, every time this show has needed to be like, yo, this is an emotional scene right here. We're trying to get you to feel the emotion. It did that. And why I say that specifically after what Vash said is because Vash, as you mentioned, when he's bringing the rocks down, it's not like he's just, simple pileup. No, these rocks are coming down with force. He is trying to bury. And then not only that, what does he say as he walks off? He still calls him master.
Oh God, it's so good.
You have failed, master.
This is the best This is the best this script has been.
Yo,
The whole series.
Agree.
you just seen him go completely, and you know what I will say this too. After you see him basically go Thanos on him, he was just bam, 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 bam. No remorse. He wanted to not just bury him, to kill him, to crush him, and then to walk off and say, and still call him master. I was like, oh, if you didn't feel anger in that whole scene at all, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. That means I don't know if you understand the relationship dynamic between the two. I don't know if you understand Star Wars in general. But if you did not feel the anger that Vader had, I was like, you know what, Vader, I'm angry too. Yeah, you know what, Vader, you know what I did after the episode? After I rewatched it again, I went and I loaded up Battlefront 2. I said, okay, I need to go kill some people. I need to shoot them. And then I'm going to play as one of the members of the Sith. As long as they put me on the Sith side, I'm going to play and I'm going to F up these rebels. I am going to go crazy. That's what that scene made me want to do. And I did. I played one match and I was like, all right, cool, I'm good. I got it out of my system. Now I'm going to bed.
To add to that, again, I apologize, James, but when Obi-Wan was first fighting him and he was using the Force more, I love how the camera shots was showing Obi-Wan using the Force, and then Darth, he was like, oh, Master, you have gotten your strength back. And he said, but that is still your weakness.
Yeah,
your strength has returned, but the weakness still remains.
And I was pulling this huge fucking rock.
Like that was my favorite moment right before Obi-Wan finds his strength. I love that. So moment. Dope.
And for that, it was beautiful because it's that build up to show that Obi-Wan is slowly becoming back to the General Kenobi who he was 10 years ago during the Clone Wars and everything else. So to see that he's finally getting back to strength, and to show that the first round or round 2 of Darth Vader versus him, right now he's losing, but once we transition to round 3, that's a whole different question.
Yeah, I absolutely love this moment where Obi-Wan is stuck underneath all the rubble. He's using the Force just to keep all of it from crushing him. And he's hearing all of these different voices, hearing Anakin's voice from Revenge of the Sith, from Attack of the Clones. He's like, this is the end for you, my master. Admit you're beaten. And then he's hearing Vader's voice. You cannot run, Obi-Wan. And then the voices start to overlap over one another, and you're hearing Anakin and Vader's voice, like, you are my enemy. I do not fear the dark side. And I love all of this. He's all clouded, and then it all goes silent. And then he sees these visions, these flashes of Leia and Luke. And then he remembers everything that he's fighting for. Tala, the people that have made sacrifices, the people that he needs to protect. All of that is coming out right now. And he just blows all of the boulders, climbs out of the pit. And then we get the second part of this fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And some of these moments I love so much, where Obi-Wan switches to the left arm and he does Anakin's behind the back spin move with the lightsaber. He's being more aggressive. Like, it's so good. It's almost like he's adopting Anakin's fighting style to go up against Vader. It's so good.
Hitting the controls for Darth Vader's breathing apparatus with the hilt of his lightsaber, like, multiple times. He knows, like, one hit isn't going to crack it, so he has to, like, hit it multiple times. He does it, like, 3 swinging times around and hitting it with the blade of the lightsaber. Really cool stuff. I honestly think this is probably the coolest lightsaber fight in all of Star Wars.
Also, it was great for Obi-Wan to sift out the lightsaber, try to attack him, but then Darth Vader pulls his lightsaber out in defense. It shows that he didn't give a fuck about Reva in episode 5 because he didn't take out his lightsaber once. He just used the Force against her. So it shows that
he didn't need to.
Exactly. So I just love how that homage in place with the parallel that he will take out his lightsaber against Obi-Wan. But for Reva, he don't need to. So that was a beautiful parallel for both ends.
Yeah, like Chris said, this is the best lightsaber fight in live action, period. Like, I love, I talked about this in the group chat. I loved watching Obi-Wan and Vader use the Force while fighting with their lightsabers. They would use the Force against each other, use it against the surroundings to trip them up, like Chris mentioned before, where Vader, like, he's neck to neck with the lightsabers against Obi-Wan, and then uses the rocks to trip him up to get him off his footing. Like, this is it's a smart way of thinking as well. Like, this is how you should fight when you have the Force and you have a lightsaber. I really wish that when we see lightsaber fights going forward, however that is, that we see more of that, because that's some really, really good shit. So let's get into
Obi-Wan throwing Vader. We've never seen Vader be thrown before by anyone.
I was taken aback. I was like, ooh. I'm like, what is this? Vader.
That is
Vader,
an Obi-Wan means business type of moment.
Yeah. Literally
it told you
throws him.
just how serious. Yeah. How
And
serious
then
this whole thing was.
the floating boulders, dude. I was on the edge of my seat. I was losing my fucking shit watching this. This is like 30 boulders and they're huge. And he's just launching them at Vader. It's so good, bro. And then he comes in, like you mentioned, Chris, he disrupts the chest piece, slices him on his back, and then slices and cracks the helmet in half. And I love this, that it happened on the left side of his helmet, much like it happens on the right side of his helmet when he fought Ahsoka. I thought that was
Rebels.
So cool, man. Oh my God, it's so good.
Dude, you know, I mentioned in our group chat that when Lucasfilm first announced that they were working on an Obi-Wan project, back when they were like, we're making a movie, right? And then we found out that Hayden Christensen had been cast or would be coming back as Darth Vader. This was the moment where I was like, this is why they cast Hayden Christensen. Like, to have this moment specifically. Like, you don't bring Hayden Christensen back unless you are going to break Darth Vader's mask in half and have him speak so we can see part of his face through the rebreather and have this exact moment. Like, this was the main thing that I wanted from this Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and they fucking delivered on it.
JB, I've been waiting for this one right here.
Do it, because I have so much to talk about this too. This is my favorite scene.
So everything Chris said was absolutely immaculate, and it is so true. It's the reason you bring Hayden here, because, like, yes, you could have anybody under the mask. You know, we don't really clearly see Hayden's face because it's so disfigured since Vader's, but you hear his voice, and especially what was so dope is that while he's talking, his voice is distorted, it's going in and out. Like, there are moments where you hear him, the voice, then there's moments where you hear him through the rebreather, and then it's malfunctioning because of the chest piece, and just hearing him talk and all the volume pitches, everything about his voice, I'm like, yo, this is a powerful moment right here.
Dude, when he says Obi-Wan and it transitions to the Vader voice instead of Anakin's voice.
God.
Oh boy.
The way it transitioned every time was so, again, emotion. And that's not even a word that I want to use, but emotion. You can hear it's like you can hear the emotion in the voice while it changes pitch, while it changes tone.
The camera was close up to Obi-Wan, and his eyes were so emotional,
dude.
broken.
Yeah.
He's been talking about Ewan McGregor, his last name, Ewan McGregor's face acting this entire series.
This was the
as
best.
soon as it cut to his face, I could not help it, and I told you guys this in the group chat. I just started weeping because
I cried.
That's why people cried. Okay, I was just like, why are we crying? And then I realized, as a Vader stan, I have no reason to cry. So I get it. But and this is where I bring up lighting again, because while they're having that discussion, you see Obi's face surrounded in blue of his lightsaber. You see Vader's face not completely surrounded in red. It's the mix of red and blue again. We've seen this before in the Clone Wars TV series. I think I tweeted about it too, because I was like, oh my God, rewatching this and knowing everything that you can like look at it different. I'm like, you see the duality, the dichotomy, if anything, of the Force and the Sith. But then as the conversation goes on, you see the blue of Obi's face begin to fade away as he lowers his lightsaber and basically turns it off. And as a result, you see Vader as he is saying his line about Anakin's dead. There's only me.
I killed him.
I killed him. You didn't do anything. I killed him. You see the blue fade and the red completely take over.
And
and
also
we're
the line
so
right
close
before.
to his face. And Vash, like you mentioned, we're so close to his face that you can see his disfigured face just completely flooded with the red of his lightsaber. And this is like, yes. And this is where I go to the word that I've held on to this whole series, that I wanted: closure. We officially have closure between Vader and Obi-Wan. We officially, there's no turning back anymore. And it was even accentuated when Palpatine spoke to Vader at the end. It's like, I mean, you holding on to the past. Is it a moment of weakness? It's like, I won't get too much into it. But this is closure. Mm-hmm. And it gave me everything I've never felt this way about a Star Wars product before in so long. Like, no single episode, no single moment has made me, I had to rewind it. Not just be like, all right, let me get through it and then go back and rewind. I had to rewind it a couple of times because I'm like, yo, my heart was just racing. It was 1 a.m. I was just like, dog, this is everything. This is everything. This is what every Star Wars fan, whether you're a fan of the Jedi, whether you're a fan of the Sith, whether you're a Vader stan, whether you're an Obi-Wan fan, there at this moment is no moment in all of Star Wars live action films that surpasses what we have just right here. Even the iconic Luke, I am your father. No, that pales in comparison now compared to this fucking moment. Because again, with the prequel, we see like, oh, we finally learn about Anakin and what turns him to the ominous, the menacing, the overwhelming force that is Vader that we get in the OG. But then, like, what happens in between then? You know, Obi-Wan and Anakin, remember, because Obi-Wan didn't even really want the kid. He was like, Master, you saw Master Qui-Gon. I don't know. This just and then he fell in love with the kid. They were brothers. They were more than just Master and Padawan, which is funny given the Jedi's strict regardings of emotion and whatnot.
Right.
Even Obi-Wan, and we have multiple occasions where he breaks away from, but even Obi-Wan, and he realizes in this series, he realizes it. In my opinion, he comes to realize it. Even Obi-Wan couldn't stay rigid when it came to Anakin. So cool. But then when you go from the prequel trilogies, then bam, we in A New Hope, and it's like, oh, but Vader, Obi-Wan and Vader, we just gonna gloss over that. They finally gave us what we needed between the two, and right there, honestly, right there, I would be content. And I'm jumping the gun here, JB, but I would be content with no season 2 of Obi-Wan because this story is told, is done. What I would want now is a chance to see, all right, what has Vader been doing after this up until A New Hope? Because Vader is not like he's just some desk jockey who sits behind the desk and, he's just like, yo, you go do this, you go. Nah, he be out in the field. My man be out in the trenches too. I want to see that. Let me see some of his conquest. You have whole comics that you can follow. That's what I want to see. But that moment right there was great.
I'm split on where I want where I would want a Vader series, and I can't wait to get to that portion of it, because it's going to be really interesting to see what we all pick and like what time period that we want. But to set up this scene just a little bit more, like everything that Abe mentioned, like I love the face acting, like Chris mentioned, where Obi-Wan's just like Anakin and Vader's like, Anakin is gone, I am what remains. And this is the incredible acting by Hayden Christensen, like performing this. Like, he's just acting with half of his fucking face, bro.
An eyeball,
and I feel all of the pain. Like Abe was talking about the distortion in his voice, the blend between Hayden's voice and the re-speecher voice of James Earl Jones as Vader. Like, it sounds so good, much like, in Rebels, again, where we had that moment between Ahsoka and Vader, and then we heard the voice actor's voice mixed in with James Earl Jones. I thought that was really, really cool. Really, really cool as well. When Obi-Wan tells him, like, I'm sorry for all of it. Mm-hmm. Again, the incredible acting by Ewan McGregor in that scene. And Vader's like, I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. And like Abe mentioned, just the lightsaber coming up to his face, being engulfed in red, him accepting the dark side and moving forward and truly trying to kill, Anakin Skywalker, even though we know later on he can't really do that. He comes back around to it. But in this moment, he's trying to be Vader. And I love that this is actually a cool reference to A New Hope when Obi-Wan tells Luke that Vader killed his father. It's true based on this.
Yeah, this is the setup for like that weird, confusing kind of plot hole. They kind of remedied it.
Yeah, it's like he literally said that
absolutely.
I killed Anakin Skywalker. So it's true. What he told Luke in A New Hope was true.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view. Yeah, so it's like just the use of color, the lighting between the lightsabers. Like this is something that Star Wars has done really well, even in the sequel trilogy that I don't like that much. The scene in The Force Awakens between Han and Ben, where they're standing on that walkway and you can see him split
Great
between the light and the
lighting,
dark.
yeah.
And then he chooses the dark when he ignites his lightsaber and he's covered in red. There's so many of these amazing moments. So Vash, I'm going to toss it to you. Like, what did this sequence mean to you?
When he said, I wasn't your failure, he didn't need to finish that saying that I'm the one that killed Anakin. No. Our boy Obi-Wan knew what he meant. His eyes, again, like Chris said, Obi-Wan, the expression on his face, the close-up shot, that was a shot over the shoulder, just having to the eyes and the close to the face, and just showing his sadness, like that he has failed his Padawan, and he can't help him any more than he is now. So to see that, it just brings the emotion on screen. This is where you write the good dialogue. I see, that you put this in the script, guys. You just focus on them and you don't give a F about the other stuff.
This is the moment that, when Kathleen Kennedy was kind of announcing that the show was coming, she was like, get ready for the battle, the showdown of the century, right? Like, this is the focal point of why they wanted to make this series, and that's why it's so good. The rest of the series is like, how do we get here?
Thank you, Chris,
but
I was also gonna bring it up.
That's why this is such a strong moment, because like this is the whole reason they wanted to make the show.
Because when we were watching the first 3 episodes, I was like, so when are we gonna see Hayden? All right, cool. We saw episode 4 flashback, and then episode 5, 6 is when we got finally Hayden. So like, I'm like, cool. This makes sense why you hype up so much and you say we're gonna see him, and I'm like, we literally saw him almost like 20% out of the whole 6 episodes. But there's still nothing wrong. It was meant for the emotion. And like Abe brought up, the editing, going back to Vader, going back to Obi, going back to Vader, going back to Obi, and just having them feel and discuss in the way Vader, Hayden spoke. It was a mix. The editing, the sound editing. This is, I feel like, one of the best sound editing that I feel like for Star Wars, for them to get it right on cue. And sound editing is one of the hardest things because you have to match it right to the T, right to the second. And for you to get the expression of Darth and Anakin both is very difficult. And for you to just hear the distortion of him saying and speaking, you felt I'm not him no more. And like Abe brought up, the lighting, like you saw the beautiful type of makeup done on Vader. You could see the ugliness of what we have seen in the episode 6, how he looks then with his full helmet off. This dude like a whole type of rotten egg. But before this, we have him looking better out here.
I don't call my man. Hold on. I'm not gonna take that disrespect. I ain't gonna take that disrespect by my man Vader. Look. It's not all. Sometimes a man can't be all pretty like the pretty boys out there.
He hasn't had any sunlight in like 20 years.
Like the back to tank could only do so much for him. All right, it can only do so much.
The tank cannot add lotion.
Remember, at the same time? No, remember he lost limbs. He can't breathe. All right, y'all not gonna disrespect my man Vader like this. Y'all not gonna do that. Don't call him no rotten egg. That's rude. That's rude.
Add some type of vitamin C on the back to tank. Right there, just give him some nice
Does
little skin
vitamin
color.
C exist? Is that a thing for them? Because like at that point, like is anybody truly human anymore? Like, hello?
True, you never know. But the scene is just fantastic. I've seen it twice. The second time I saw my girl, that's the first time she saw Star Wars, and she asked questions. After, hush it. Let's express this together. Let's experience this together. And she asked, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy?" I'm like, look. If you want to know, I'll tell you real quick. Still, it got her intrigued. So maybe I got her in the ballpark for us to watch this whole experience together. But it was just amazing just to see this, finally to see the reason why we got the series in the first place. Like, let's not lie about it. Why? And it was fantastic. It's fantastic.
Chris, what about you?
On the big screen.
Yeah, we're all going to talk about this speech because as soon as he says, I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan, what I love about this moment is it's so complex. And we've talked about the mix of the audio for this sequence and how it's transitioning between Anakin and Vader. And that whole monologue that Hayden Christensen has saying, "I'm not your failure," like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. It's complex because you could take it two different ways. It could be Anakin relieving Obi-Wan of his guilt, or it could be Vader illustrating to Obi-Wan that he has no part to play in his power. Like, his power is his own. You had nothing to do with me conquering Anakin Skywalker. It was me. I did it. Or it could be Anakin saying like let go of your guilt. This isn't your fault. I made these choices. I'm taking responsibility for what happened. I love that. We don't get that a lot in Star Wars.
I would argue
Anakin is such a complex character. Like, he's the perfect one to have a monologue like this.
Yeah, I would argue both, because there's almost a moment where, like, when he says Anakin, that you can see the sadness in his face, but it's like, he puts that away to be Vader. Yeah, but I absolutely love that scene. Obi-Wan says, "Then my friend is truly dead," which is a great callback to was it Empire or Return of the Jedi, where Luke says, "Then my father is truly dead."
Yeah,
right. So
it's Return of the
callback.
Jedi.
Great callback to that. And then he says, "Goodbye, Darth." Another great callback to A New Hope. And I love that he just calls him by his title. It's like, "I'm not gonna call you Vader. We're not friends because my friend is dead. You are Darth. This is your title. That's all you are to me."
First time calling him Darth too. He's like, since then he just thought like, wait, I don't need to call you Anakin no more. Like you said, you're dead. So
James
Darth
and I had this conversation off mic, and I told him how this is a moment in A New Hope that has bothered me for decades, because it's literally the only moment in Star Wars where Obi-Wan refers to Darth Vader as Darth. All other characters call him Vader. And then we learn in the prequels that Darth is a title. So I was telling James and kind of joking with him, like, I don't know why referring to him as Darth twice in the entire franchise makes it better. But like you said, Vash, and like James said, it is Obi-Wan acknowledging Vader by the title. You are now a Sith. I cannot have any part of this.
Like, this is your path.
Closure.
Exactly.
Closure. We have finally, like, you can close the chapter, close the door. It is done. There is no more thoughts of you as my friend. There is no that all that bond is officially that we finally get that. And you know what? I didn't even know that there's this is now the third instance where he's used Darth, or is this the second overall?
Only the second one.
Okay, so it's the second one.
Well, first, technically.
Just knowing that,
first, technically, the original.
well, technically the first.
In chronological order, it's the first time.
It's the first. But realistically, it's the second time. Like you said, Chris, that makes it, it does, I see it does make it that much more powerful, because nobody else does it. Why? Because it doesn't apply to him. It wouldn't hit like it would for him. Now, mind you, the first time he used it, we're like, nigga, what? Like you said, we're like, what? But now that that's the fun thing about making content whenever you want to. You can always be like, haha.
Yeah, the retconning of it all,
We can retcon it, and now it makes sense.
Obi-Wan calling Darth Vader Darth in Star Wars, which was changed to A New Hope, was just Lucas assuming that Darth was Vader's first name. He didn't know he was making a sequel.
Also,
he did not even 6 of them. He's just like, this guy's name is Darth, first name Darth, last name Vader. But then he changed his mind, and it was a weird thing that was left in A New Hope. But the show fixed it.
Made it make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And additionally, Obi-Wan could have deadass killed Darth Vader and saved the whole galaxy. Just saying at that moment, but retconning.
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan's fucked up that mission several times at this point.
No,
He's
but
had
at this moment, he literally could have not walk away here, be like, you know what, I'm gonna defend the job. Boom.
It's like
and then basically
could have
everything
killed
else,
Anakin on
everything
Mustafar the first time around.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You literally saved the whole damn galaxy.
can't.
You could have saved Luke, his hand. You could have saved.
It wasn't his destiny. It wasn't his destiny.
No, I know, but I just laugh at that fact that he chose to walk away.
It's funny though.
But
Dude,
my wife said the same thing. She was like,
she did?
Why didn't you just kill him?
Yeah.
And you know how people say Thanos could have just multiplied resources for everybody. It's like, well, Obi-Wan could have killed him. It's like, yeah, but
I hate
whereas
that argument.
Thanos is
Dude,
like,
we can't get into that argument because that
it's a terrible argument for Thanos, but for
more resources
Obi-Wan,
mean people are gonna breed more, which means we need more
they'll just
resources.
use more.
Agreed. Who would have thought? But in this instance, it's like you have to remember that look, stuff was made out of order. So we now I know you're saying it jokingly, Vash, and I'm glad that I haven't seen people be like, you know what, Obi-Wan should have killed him right then and there, and then it wouldn't have made sense. We would have never gotten Star Wars. All right, understand? Right. Because George Lucas did not start off with the prequels. He had no idea this would be so successful. He had no idea people would be like, we want more. We want to know what happened before. And he's like, well, shit. All right, now you're limited in what you can do. Which is why I'm also excited for future Star Wars product, because they're like, yo, cool. We're done with the Skywalkers. We have a whole fucking universe that we can give you original content about that hasn't been written or whatnot, or we can further elaborate. And I'm excited for that.
That's why Mando's so great, because besides the sequel trilogy, it takes place in a time period where we have no idea how things in the galaxy are unfolding. So there are literal stakes. There are actual stakes in Mandalorian. Whereas anytime we go back in time, whether it be Clone Wars, whether it be Bad Batch, whether it be Kenobi, like there are no stakes.
Threading in rocks. Like
that's where you have to rely on the emotion aspect.
Exactly.
That's the only thing you have, because we all know how this shit is gonna look. I point to Rogue One. Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars films of recent memory. And when we include the sequel trilogy and whatnot. And I'll even throw in the other live actions too. But in terms of film, Rogue One is one of my favorites. And again, we all know how it fucking they of course get the plan to the Death Star. Of course. Because we know that they blow up the first Death. We know we get a second Death Star. So of course they have to get it. We know that. But leading up to it, I was like, I got invested in the characters. Because like you said, Chris,
every member of the Council of Villains has now spoiled Rogue One for Vash. Because he still hasn't seen it. But I mean, like you said, Abe, there's no you can't spoil it.
I know.
You know what's going to happen.
All I know is that a droid dies that James cares about.
Yeah, what we would spoil is like telling you which characters don't make it, But ultimately,
James and I've already done that. So.
We've already. We completely spoiled the whole thing.
James spoiled it like for a good 5 minutes last week.
You should sue him. All I said was that what everybody knew. And you know what? Everything was so dope. And even so much, I'm a big Vader fan. So when we got that Vader scene, I was yelling. And it's like, Vader, get they motherfucking ass. And he won't. But you saw the fear. It was just like, yo, I'm reliving it all again. Like you said, Chris, these are, at this point, these projects that go back in time, they are character pieces. They're meant to give us more depth. They're not supposed to give us, feeling nothing brand new, nothing we have. Just like dive deeper and make us like connect better with these characters. Make us feel for them. Make us want to be like, oh, wait. Maybe we didn't understand things like we thought we did. Like, you look at Anakin. I mean, since the beginning, I've always felt for Anakin, but people can now be like, damn, Anakin, you actually had it tough. They hold you. They really did hold you. Like, you know what? I can't be mad at you for going this route. I can't sit here and consume all the media I have and be like, damn, Anakin, you should have done better. How could you have done better given who he was? You go back to Clone Wars, the animated series. He felt like, I mean, in the movie, in trilogy, the prequel trilogy, Anakin felt like Obi-Wan didn't trust him, that Obi-Wan didn't see him as an equal and whatnot. Okay. We saw that. How did critics say it? Oh, this Hayden Christensen actor, Anakin's such a baby. He throws tantrums and whatnot. Okay, I'll give y'all that. I can see how y'all feel about that. I don't feel that way, but I get it. Then we get the Clone Wars animated series. And now we see Anakin really, we're like, yeah, he's not the baby you thought he was. Like, look how feared he is by his opponents. Everybody knows his fucking name. General Trench, he was like, oh, Anakin, with his spider face. He's like,
I love that design.
I know. Yo, I wish I would love to have seen more of Trench or his species, in other words.
Yes.
It's dope. But like, Anakin is a badass motherfucker. But you need to see that. You need to learn about that. And he's like, damn, he really cared a lot about the people. Out of all the Jedi, again, he was the one that cared about people the most. There was time and time again where he went against the Jedi code to save lives. Yeah, he went against the Jedi code to fucking save lives.
He chose to save planets, even when the Jedi said we won't be there in time. You cannot save them. We're not gonna be there in time to do supplies and food. And Anakin chose to still do the impossible and still did it. And Obi-Wan was like, "Oh, Anakin's still alive." He did like, "Yes, Master. Didn't you see me? I did this in my apprentice Ahsoka and everything." But I want to add two more things. Plot holes. Well, not really plot holes. So we have, like Chris mentioned, we have like Darth Vader battleship up in the moon. So Obi-Wan literally escapes, and Darth Vader can be like, "He's escaping. Go grab him, chase him, look after him." Because at the end episode, he literally said, "I have all the droids, I have all the drones looking for him far and wide." I'm like, why can you do that? Like when you literally had him escape, you could have literally do that, and he would have not escaped out. That's one. Two, didn't back in the ship of Roken, he literally was trying to speak to Qui-Gon Ghost and be like, "Hey, Master, I think I have to kill him. I think I have to end him." And we literally had the chance to kill him, but he chose to escape. Those are my only two gripes, even though we know they were going to survive. Dead. True, but like he could have saved the other galaxy again. Like, yes, Anakin, but the person that's literally costing the whole
and Star Wars is pointless at that point. Vader is not that menacing. He could have just been killed like right there. So I understand it. It's plot holes, but it's one of those things where you have to just go with it. You have to accept it.
Exactly.
I don't even
have to play devil's advocate.
I don't even think they're plot holes. Because think about it like this: when Obi-Wan leaves the planet, he goes straight into he activates the hyperdrive and he's gone. So by the time Vader gets to his ship, what are you tracking? He's already gone. You know what I mean? So I'm perfectly fine.
And mind you, his chest plate was fucked up, so I don't even know if he could.
Yeah, he has to like hobble back to his shuttle.
Because he got his ass beat.
To the Star Destroyer.
He got his ass beat by Obi-Wan. Beat that boy's ass.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be honest. Roken and everyone on the ship would have already been gone if the hyperdrive was working. So it's like, yeah, I mean, as soon as he left the atmosphere, he just went into hyperdrive and he was gone. So I don't have a problem with that part of it. I think it works. But let's keep moving on in the episode. Obi-Wan leaves the planet. He can start, seeing visions of Reva looking for Luke on Tatooine. He hits the hyperdrive straight to Tatooine. So let's transition to Luke, Owen, Beru, and Luke, right? So Reva, in the beginning, we see her on Tatooine, and she's asking around for Owen, right? She gets on. Owen is told by the guy, I'm going to call him the water guy because I don't know what his name is. He's told by
in the credits, I'm pretty sure it says the water guy.
Does it?
No, it doesn't. I have no idea. Maybe it does.
So he tells Owen that Reva is looking for him, right? So they go back to their home. And I love that Beru was prepared. She's like, she knew this day would come and she had guns ready for her and Owen. She was like, all right. She's going to come at sundown. We need to get into position right now. And I love that Owen, like, he starts to say something, but then he's like, what am I going to do? Argue with my wife? I mean, she's right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
She had a plan. I didn't have one.
What's cool about this, and I haven't read this particular novel, but there's a novel, and I'm sorry, I don't know the title of it, but it kind of elaborates on Beru as a character. And on Tatooine, she's actually a rebel that attempts to set slaves free. Like, she will go and try to free slaves. So it makes perfect sense that
she
has like
about
a
all that
stash of
smoke.
weapons in their house if she's already like going against the local government of Tatooine.
I was so impressed. I was like, oh. She's like, we can do this ourselves. Got the stash out. We shooting. Here your gun out. I'm like, oh, okay.
I love
about that action.
I love what she said. Let's do it in our own home turf. Like she literally said, we have the advantage. We have the playfield. 2, I feel like girl did more damage or did much better aim than stormtroopers, clones, and also I feel like she did much better than her own husband.
Look, I'm gonna tell you this: stormtroopers are that's a big plot hole in all of Star Wars because there's no reason why their aim should be this bad. Like we're watching the Clone Wars animated series. We have a show called Bad Batch. We are literally watching these motherfuckers train to shoot. Why do they miss so much? It makes no sense. Why did George Lucas want these people to be terrible shots? Like they're fodder.
Dude, the clones are excellent shots. In the Clone Wars animated series, the clones are excellent shots.
They can shoot.
It's as soon as we transition from clones to recruits that like nobody could hit the broadside of a fucking barn.
It's like I could be standing in front of them and I have the utmost confidence I'll survive.
The only thing
you have
that
like
they
a knife
train...
and they have blasters and you're like,
and
I'm
like,
gonna win this.
I'm just
gonna run out
and synchronized.
The only thing that they do to train them is teach them Imperial codes and all of the rules of working for the Empire. That's the only thing that they know. They have no actual training.
Like the first time we get to meet Heavy in them. First time we meet Heavy in them. Oh, what they doing? They are going through a training module. Oh, okay, so they know how to shoot. They know tactics.
Yeah, it's because the
they can think independently.
Dude, the Kaminoans that make the clones are like, we're building an army. We need to have training for these soldiers.
Army. Point to shoot and kill.
As soon as they said, all right, defund the clone project, we're going to hire recruits. It's like, look, guys.
Tarkin saved so much fucking money, though.
Here's a gun.
Right.
Here you go. Good luck. We may not see you again, but just go see my man over there to get suited up and just go about your business.
Yeah, just kidnap a bunch of kids, give them a blaster, teach them the Imperial codes, and just send them out there. Which is, I mean, literally what they did, which is fucking ridiculous.
That has to be one of the most like confusing things of all of like why, like why?
But yes, Agor Baru knows how to shoot because she held her own. Owen hurt his knee or broke his knee. I don't know what happened to that leg.
Yeah, I mean, Reva like threw him off a platform.
Yeah,
he landed wrong, which lines up perfectly to A New Hope because he has a limp in A New Hope.
Again, remember what they said when the season first came out? The showrunner said that they're not doing anything that isn't canon already. They said
even though a lot of people thought they would with Grand Inquisitor being dead.
Yeah, they weren't going to break canon.
And you now see like, oh, they haven't. If anything, they've further rectified or solidified what we already know.
Yeah,
they kept their word. Can't be upset with it at all.
Yeah, so they're fighting off against Reva. Owen is trying to hold his own. He goes after her wound. She gets closer to Luke. Luke runs out of the top of the roof. He's running into the desert. Reva follows him, and I think this is such an important and pivotal moment for Reva's character. I love this, where she's stalking Luke, and she finally sees him, pulls him down off of the ledge. He's passed out on the floor, ignites her lightsaber, and when she's about to strike him down, she sees herself, and she sees visions of Anakin. And I love that we got a little bit more of this, because in this part of the vision, we actually see a little bit of hesitation on Anakin's face, but then he steels himself and then he continues, pretty much executing the younglings. And then it's this moment in Reva where it's like, am I really going to become him? Am I going to do the same thing that he did to me and all of my friends? And that's where she can't. She picks up Luke, she brings him back. And this is where we're talking about stakes. She brings Luke back, she puts him on the floor, and it's like we have this long pause as if we're supposed to believe that Luke's dead until he coughs and moves. I'm like, no one thought he was dead, bro. Like,
it's called a clone Luke. That's what happens. We will find out in season 2 that they had to make a clone Luke. That's how we get him.
Can you imagine?
So I absolutely love this scene. I love this redemption for Reva. So, Chris, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this moment between Reva and Luke right before Obi-Wan shows up? And then we'll talk about Obi-Wan and Reva.
So I want to start with a disclaimer in that all of my opinions are my own, and I'm not here to convince anybody or yuck anybody's yum. I feel about this the way I will, and that's it. I have to say everything in regards to Reva and Luke in this finale is not working for me. Every single thing. And the reason being is in a show that, like we already talked about, already has no stakes. This is really doubling down on the fact that they can't do certain things because she's chasing Luke, who doesn't know about who cannot learn about the Force, who cannot see a lightsaber. Like, that would break canon, because in A New Hope, when he first encounters Obi-Wan teaches him about the Force. He shows him a lightsaber for the first time. They literally have to knock this poor boy unconscious so he doesn't see any of it. Like, as he's running away from Reva, he still thinks that he's probably being chased by Tusken Raiders. You know, he never ever sees her, and then she ends up knocking him unconscious just to preserve canon. I also don't really understand why Reva is here. I don't think the show does a good job of illustrating why Reva goes to Tatooine. I think if we were still to include Reva in this narrative, I think her journey should have ended in episode 5 after losing to Vader. Because when she discovers the communicator, where Bail Organa's like, brap, 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 the boy, brap, 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 Tatooine, brap, brap, you know, Owen Lars, you know, she's still in that moment doesn't know that he's related to Vader. So I think one of the show's failings is that it doesn't give us proper motivation for why Reva is going to kill Luke Skywalker. Is it because she has figured out that the boy is somehow important to Vader and therefore wants to take revenge on him? Is it because she thinks the boy is important to Obi-Wan and is pissed at Obi-Wan for manipulating her into fighting Vader too early? The show doesn't tell us. And I think that's
the communicator, Bail Organa does say he must not know about the children.
Right.
So from there, maybe she just assumed, because clearly you knew that, okay, it's I feel like, and this is hard because knowing what we know, I may be just adding my own headcanon into it.
And that's something we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Like the difference between us as fans trying to justify failures in the script with our own headcanon and taking a step back and literally looking at the script and saying, did the script tell me this, or am I trying to fill in the gaps?
And I'm in the middle though, because I'm with you, Chris, but at the same time, like Abe's saying, I personally think that was enough for us to know, oh, she's going to Tatooine because this message clearly states that these kids are important to Vader. So getting rid of them is revenge against Vader. I don't think it's too much of a leap to get there, but again, I agree with you that the script could have taken a couple extra seconds to just set it up a little bit more, but I think it's there.
And I'll say this too, and this is where I guess this is where I kind of stand against you, but I don't disagree with anything you said, because I can understand how you feel that way, Chris. Absolutely. It's like JB said, you could have explained it better. But for me, the way I've seen Reva's character is, I'm going to go back to the word closure. And I'm also going to go back to the idea that it's possible this is just them kind of giving us like fan service, in the sense of Order 66 is iconic for all Star Wars fans, you know. Mind you, I say this knowing what we're going through in the world today, and I do apologize for those who may not feel the same way. I'm just taking this in the form of Star Wars media. Order 66 is iconic, but this was their chance to give us like more to it. Like we learned that there are survivors.
It was
and
their
we
chance.
now we have a survivor there who has been plotting, who is trying to get her revenge on Vader. Cool. she fails. And you're right. If they ended her line with episode 5, I wouldn't have complained. I would have been like, okay, this makes sense. She lost. She's done. Like, Vader beat her ass. Vader beat her ass one-handed. She wasn't who she thought she was. So, Vader was like, did you no?
I wouldn't have complained, but I like that she's in the finale. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I propose to you guys an alternate reality?
Mm-hmm. Hit me.
In which, because I want to make clear, I actually really like everything that they're doing with Reva in the show. And I've said in the last couple of weeks, like, there's so many great concepts that they have attached to this character. They're just not delivering on them effectively. Imagine a show where Lucasfilm says, we want to create this new character. We want to make her a Padawan that survived Order 66. And to get revenge, she is going to infiltrate the Empire and attempt to kill Vader. Imagine a series solely dedicated to that, instead of trying to shoehorn her into a story, which we've already talked about in this episode of Villains, that should be dedicated to Obi-Wan's relationship with Anakin.
It won't do well. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I know you say that, but Lucasfilm is developing a series called The Acolyte, which is solely about a Sith apprentice. So how the fuck can they advertise something like that and not make, say, a show called Star Wars Inquisitorius?
Because it's an easier sell to talk about, because this character that we're following happens during the height of the Jedi. You know what I mean? So there's hundreds, thousands of Jedi at this point. So it's like, I think that's the draw for people. Where Abe is coming from, I think, and we've talked about this behind the scenes too, I think you need a jumping off point. For a character like this, and we'll get into this when we get into the questions portion, but there is a part of Obi-Wan's redemption that's tied to Reva, I think. So I think it's important that she's here, and then we can take this jumping off point now that we know Reva and we can align with Reva. Now give me the series and I can follow her. Now, where I can get on board with you, Chris, is maybe it was over too quickly. And then, like, this should have been the jumping off point, and then her own series would have been her, you know, using the Inquisitor path to try to get back at Vader. I would argue that
wouldn't have done well. And I'll tell you, but before I tell you why, the reason why I also am a fan of Reva in this instance of Chase and Luke, is because, as we saw, the constant flashbacks between Anakin, and another reason why we have to Anakin. This was not needed, but at least it helped, right? We're now seeing Reva in the same position to do what Anakin did, and fully she's had to adopt the Sith to get to this point. She had to rely on the Sith to give her the power to get to this point. The same thing Anakin did. Now we're seeing a parallel, and she's forced with, like, yo, after interacting with Obi-Wan and the conversations you've had with Obi-Wan, after realizing after us as fans realizing what your true purpose is here, here's your moment. Like, can you do it? But you're seeing yourself. But can you do it? Can you enact Order 66 again on such a minor scale?
So I agree with you. And that's why I'm saying, and this is a problem. This is the problem that I had with the Book of Boba Fett as well. Like, Disney has illustrated multiple times that they have this habit of interjecting their own Star Wars created characters into legacy shows or shows that are supposed to be dedicated to legacy characters. Mm-hmm. And I think everything you're saying is excellent storytelling. Like, if she had a show dedicated to herself, which was focused on her relationship to Vader, making her a foil to Vader the same way they did in this show wouldn't seem like a waste of screenplay real estate.
You could market it,
whether or not it would do well or not.
But here's the reason why, and I feel like the reason why, this is the reason why I wouldn't do well, but they knew, again, this is all just juxtaposition. Well, not juxtaposition, this is all just hypothetical, right? I think they understood that they couldn't go that route with this Reva character because she wouldn't be accepted well. Nobody would actually want to see. You see how they're doing Miss Marvel. You see how they're doing Miss Marvel. Imagine a show centered on Reva. Oh my God. the way the numbers that we would see, we'd be like, oh, based off the numbers, you would think it's the worst show ever. You see how they're doing Miss Marvel. They would have done Reva. They would have done Reva worse. So I feel like, and then again, this is just all hypotheticals. Maybe that didn't come into mind when they were like, oh, you know, why not? I feel like somebody in the room was like, why not just give her own show? People like, you see this country? You see?
No, I get it.
Look,
James and I have had this conversation where, like, and I've written in my notes here that I wish Reva was in a better show. I wish that she was better written as a character. I feel so. Let me just make my full point.
Yeah. I wasn't going to jump in.
Obi-Wan, his hope is restored in this show through all of his interactions with Leia. His guilt is resolved in this show through all of his interactions with Vader. What purpose is Reva serving in this show? Like I said, the show should be focused on those three characters. And whenever you write an additional character, a new character into a screenplay, and James and Vash are probably fucking tired of hearing me say this, every element of the script should always be servicing the crux of the script to the best of its ability. And I just think it was unfair to put Reva in this show where, to me at least, a lot of her beats seem redundant. And yet, if you could just put her in her own show that focuses on her revenge plot for Vader, they wouldn't be redundant because she's the focus. Like, she's the main character of that show. And getting into, like, more of the business elements, like, I can't believe that a company that has to tell poor fucking Moses Ingram that she's about to face vitriol and backlash from the fandom before the show even airs doesn't take the care necessary to make sure that she's the best fucking written character in that show. Like, if you're already throwing this poor girl to the lions, like, how dare you fucking do this? You know? And I'm sorry that I'm getting a little angry, but like,
no,
I'm
with you.
It's totally justified.
When you say it like that, Chris,
it's
when
totally
you say it like that, I don't disagree with anything you just said.
After what they did to John Boyega and that fucking sequel series, like,
preach, dog.
How can you have the fucking mindset to be like, you're gonna have 1 million people fucking yell at you because of who you are as a person? Oh, and by the way, I know you're an incredibly talented actress and you're doing everything you can with the script, but we're sorry we didn't make it as good as it should have been for you. So at least the people who are like the people like me who are like, she's not the best written character in the show. Like, at least those people complaining could shut the fuck up. At least I could shut the fuck up and be like, dude, she's fucking great. You know, like, she's the best part of the Obi-Wan series. It just on a business level, it infuriates me that they said something like that to her before the show aired, and yet over the last 6 weeks I've been like, why is her character not better? Like, now she's getting it from both angles. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's as if sometimes it makes me think like, yo, did y'all set her up? Like,
it feels like that
because y'all made it. Because even when I've had diehard fans, I have had a few conversations with diehard fans who share similar thoughts on me when it comes to like Vader and whatnot. When they gave their thoughts on Reva, I was like, I get where you're coming from. You see, that's why I can't ultimately be upset with anything that Chris said, because I get where you're coming from. Me, I was willing to be more patient and to see where it goes. And I thought that it went a solid direction. There definitely could have been room for improvement. They could have spent more time, you know, explaining stuff. But, you know, for me, I was focused on Vader all the way. That, you know, everything about Vader was perfect in my eyes. So overall, you know, I was willing to take what I was given. But as you said it, they pre-warned her. This drops. And you have the critics who are sharing their disdain for Reva. Every time they said something like, your point isn't wrong.
And Moses Ingram is fucking phenomenal in this episode. When she breaks down to Obi-Wan crying, talking about how she failed, she's so talented. And the script, in my eyes, is just not good enough.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense.
It's all of this is fair, and Vash, I'm going to let you go, but I wanna get through the rest of the episode first because I know we're going to spend a lot more time on it. No, because this is all important stuff, and it ties into this moment perfectly. And I love everything that you said. I agree with you completely from a business sense, from what they could have done with Reva. I agree with you. My only thing is like I'm looking at the show for what it is, and I think Reva's place is the parallels between her and Anakin, the parallels between her and Leia, and I see so many things surrounding it, but like we'll get into that a little bit later. So let's skip down to where we get actually let's skip to Mustafar real quick because we can jump back to Reva on Tatooine. So let's jump to Mustafar. This is Vader on Mustafar in a new suit talking to Emperor fucking Palpatine, bro. Now, I think we all confidently knew that in the finale we would see Qui-Gon, we would see Sidious, and I love that we got to see Ian McDiarmid. I tweeted out yesterday that I think Darth Sidious is the greatest character in Star Wars. I will stick by that. He is the ultimate puppet master in all of fucking media. I don't need anyone to agree with me. I don't care. I think Sidious is the ultimate puppet master. And I love this entire conversation between him and Vader, because Vader is so stuck on trying to get to Obi-Wan. Like Vash was saying before, like the probes are out tracking every system in range. We will destroy everything in our path until we find him. And Sidious is just looking at him. He's just like, you seem agitated, my friend. I wonder if your thoughts are clear. Like perhaps your feelings for your old master have left you weakened. If your past cannot be overcome, and then he just pauses, because Vader knows what this means. This means if you are unable to overcome your past, overcome your feelings for your old master, then you are of no use to me.
Yeah, you're
and
gone.
Maybe I should
just
kill
like everyone
you
else.
And get a new apprentice like I did with everyone else.
He does it so easily.
Yeah, so Vash, I want to start with you. What did you think about this scene on Mustafar getting to see Sidious?
One, I'm so hurt and mad that all the time codes I did, I just pressed the back button, it's all gone. That's one thing that I'm so mad and upset about.
Undo, bro.
I'm in
Control
pain.
Z.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that, but
Control Z.
Hopefully it's still there. But Palpatine, not lie, at first I thought it was Sam Witwer because we have heard him back in Rebels and Clone Wars and everything. But to see the actual actor doing this and sounded amazing, and like the way James said the speech again, it gave me chills because the way it happened, like question like, do I need to kill you because you are no use of me, you're useless. It literally what it was making it sound like you have feelings but you're not letting go your master. I'm fine with feelings, but I need you to be in focus to the path of what we're doing as the Empire. And it literally is not working. Like Vader was like, Palpatine didn't even care about Obi-Wan. He was caring more about Vader. Palpatine didn't act like, okay, the prones, like, I didn't care about that. I'm asking, are you focused? That's what he wanted, just to know. Because if you're focused, then we're in the right direction. But Vader was just over explanation. He's like, hey, master, don't worry. I sent all the probes. I did all this, but I'm good. Like, he just needed to confirm to his master that, hey, I'm still serving you, and my apologies on that. And that was just beautiful. And the score and the zoom out shot, yo, as a person working production, to see that zoom out shot, I bet you of that dolly to the slow motion shot, like the guy was just bringing back slowly. It was just amazing. Like, I was smiling on that scene, and the way James brought up Qui-Gon, I cried. That scene, I texted in the group chat. I was in the train leaving work, watching the last 10-15. I told Chris of what I saw, and then Chris asked me, "Hey, did you finish watching the whole thing?" Like, nah. When I got on the train and I saw that scene, I was literally crying, bawling, like literally just tears, and just my mouth was all ugly. I was like, "That's Qui-Gon."
Save it, but we'll get to the Qui-Gon scene. Save it for that part. But Abe, what were your thoughts on this scene?
Look, like you said, the ultimate puppet master. Like, this guy, this guy just doesn't die. He always is working from behind the scenes. And it felt fitting because, like, yeah, I say closure, like, ooh, Obi-Wan versus Vader, cool. But as we saw, we left Vader screaming, you know, and we come back to him on Mustafar, like, yeah, I'm still going to be chasing him. And Sidious is like, my G, like, is that all you care about? Is you don't seem to be the fierce leader that I thought you would be. Like, we have bigger things to concern ourselves about. Well, which was kind of funny because the idea of revenge you would think would be great for every Sith because, like, it feeds into your hatred. But even Palpatine is like, I need you to see bigger picture. Like, yo, you failed. You failed to kill Obi-Wan. It's done. I've given you this much time. It's done. I've given you essentially 10 years. You had 10 years to do it. You ain't do shit. I need you to do what I groomed you to do. Take over the fucking galaxy. And it's like, can you do that for me? And the way he said it is like, yo, he'll find another one. Because that's the thing. With the rule of 2 and 1 now, you got to understand, you can be replaced. We've had Maul. We've had fucking Dooku. They've been fucking replaced. Vader is smart enough to know, like, yeah, if I'm not useful, I'll be replaced too. It's just the way of the Sith. So this right here, and then replaced. Yeah, he'll be murdered and then replaced. So this is Vader be like, all right, I gotta let it go. I gotta move on. I let it go. It's you are the only one I serve, my master.
Right.
We saw him use the word master with Obi-Wan, and it was in the sense of like, oh, this is him finally. At the time, we thought like, oh, he think he done. And then Obi-Wan came and whooped that ass and then said, no, now we're done. Now he can say with Palpatine, it's like, all right, yeah, that chapter is closed. What's next? And this is where, in my opinion, the Vader show should now like at least take off a few years after. It's like, all right, what is he doing post Obi-Wan? Because it makes sense for this show. He's obsessed with Obi-Wan. Of course, he's been holding on to his anger for 10 fucking years. We get it. But now we need to see how does he become this fearsome force that is forever looked upon, forever quoted on, forever spoken about in every fucking Star Wars product. We get to the new trilogy. Kylo Ren is still obsessed with Vader. As fans, we know why he's obsessed with it. Who wouldn't be obsessed with one of the most fearsome? And he's not even the most powerful Sith Lord to ever exist, but he's one of the most fearsome Sith Lords because of how he's been, made to. He was the chosen one, or at least we thought he was the chosen one, right?
He is.
How do we get that? Build up on that. Build up on that field. What has he been doing? Like, it's cool we know in our head what he does. I want to fucking see it. I want to see what Vader, who's not worried about Obi-Wan, a Vader who is fully like, yo, I'm here to fuck shit up in the name of the Sith because my master Palpatine sent me. That's what I want to fucking see.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
I think Abe said it best. Palpatine's primary objective in this sequence is to assert his dominance over Vader once again. He can see that his apprentice has been weakened by his encounter with Obi-Wan and is probably a little peeved. I'm sure he senses something in Vader's calling Obi-Wan master again. And Palpatine will not have that bullshit. Like, by the end of this phone call, you better fucking call me master. Or I'm taking the limbs back that I put on you.
Oh, your side piece, motherfucker. And you better remember whose boom you be sitting on, because this nonsense right here. You called your old bitch up, didn't you?
That's pretty much what it's like.
Exactly. It's like, no. And you know what? I get it. It works.
And I mean, for those Star Wars fans that have read the comic books, like in the Vader comics, we know that Palpatine isn't afraid to like leave Vader for dead on a planet, even after he commits himself to him. Anytime there seems to be like a chink in Vader's dedication, a chink in the armor for Vader's like dedication to Palpatine, Palpatine has no problem being like, give me your legs, I'm taking your arm, back onto Mustafar. Like, find your way back and prove yourself loyal to me over again. And we'll do this however many times it takes for you to become completely subservient. So, Yeah, this scene is definitely about asserting his dominance over Darth Vader.
And he's so good at doing it too, like with just words. Like he literally swayed the galaxy. I mean,
yeah,
this is why he's the greatest. So let's cut to Alderaan, and I love this. We see Leia getting ready. We see her, in the dress, putting on the boots, the gloves that she got on Dayu, and then she's putting on Tala's
the holster that should be blown up.
Yeah. Her mom comes in
on apartment.com when you're like, ooh, this place looks nice. And then you actually visit it, and then you're like, oh, this place is, oh my God, is that a giant roach on that broken wall? Oh my God. I thought Alderaan was nice. Yeah, about 10 years ago. These photos old, baby. These photos is old. Like, all right.
And I love that her mom is completely fine with it too. She's so like accepting of it because she knows that's just Leia's personality. So I love that. Obi-Wan's ship lands, and we get this great moment, between Obi-Wan and Bail Organa, where he's like, "I fear for the future. The Empire grows stronger and bolder." And Obi-Wan's like, "Well, if you ever need my help, you know exactly where to find me." Brilliant reference to A New Hope, where Leia calls him. So,
and he also says that she has to keep their relationship secret because people will be looking for both of them. So that's another way to like kind of make the canon work a little bit better.
Yeah, it works so well. And then this brilliant moment between Obi-Wan and Leia. And again, this is where Ewan McGregor is doing incredible face acting, because he's having this moment with Leia where he's like, "What do you think that I should do next?" And she's like, "I think you should sleep." It's like, I love the friendship that they have. And he's telling her about the fact that he lied about knowing her parents.
Yeah.
And I love all of this dialogue. And again, Ewan McGregor's incredible acting, where he's like, "You are wise, discerning, kind-hearted. These are the qualities that came from your mother. But you're also passionate and fearless, forthright. These are gifts from your father."
This is the second scene that got me.
Oh my God,
I was immediately weeping.
Both were exceptional people who bore an exceptional daughter. Oh my God.
And here's the thing too. I'm so glad that they used Leia in this instance. I mean, of course they had to, because given Luke his story's been written, but also to focus on Luke in the original trilogies. Like it's more about him. This is your chance to really highlight more of Leia in her youth and really set it up to explain why she is who she is, that when we see her. Like, again, she is truly her parents' child. Like, and we all love Luke and whatnot, but Leia is truly her parents' child. All throughout the show, I'm like, yo, this is something that Anakin or Padme would do. I'll be like, you frustrate me so much because this is legit something your mama or your daddy would do. I was like, oh my God.
Her face expressions as a child remind me so much of Padme. The way she's looking like,
did a great job.
Like I said in the first or second episode review we did, if she ever grows up and plays and wants to continue stars, and they do a Leia storyline like from the novel book,
she could be a teenage Leia.
I have no problem. Or an adult Leia, I have no problem if we see a story of her in the future, because this would be amazing.
Agreed.
Yeah, man, it's such a good sequence. And they say goodbye to each other, and we know we're gonna see them again. Obi-Wan leaves, heads to Tatooine, and then we have this great moment where he's clearing out his old place, putting everything up in boxes and everything,
putting his Revenge of the Sith robes back on.
Yeah, putting the
journey
robes
complete.
Back on.
Emotional journey complete.
Then he rides to the farm, just to, and I love this exchange between him and Owen, where he's like, you know what, you were right. Like, he just needs to be a boy. The future will work itself out. You know what I mean? And we get the epic moment where Owen's like, would you like to meet him? And then we get, hello there. Love it. Finally, we finally get it. We thought we were gonna get it in episode 3. I think it was in episode 3. I thought we were finally gonna get that moment, and then we finally get it. I pulled up the wrong image.
That's okay. It's still him talking to a child. I mean, doesn't matter.
But Chris, I'll toss it to you first. Like, what did you think about that scene with him and Owen, and then him and Luke?
I love the stuff between Obi-Wan and Owen in this series. It's, again, a relationship I kind of wish we would have focused more on throughout the series, especially considering that in A New Hope, Owen is kind of back to being like crazy old wizard, you know? So I'm wondering what happens between Obi-Wan and Owen again between this moment and A New Hope. Because in this moment, he at least seems to be a little more lenient in letting Obi-Wan be a part of Luke's life. Or maybe he's like, this dude, I'm looking at what he has packed on his space camel. This dude's about to wander off into the middle of the desert. We're never going to see him again. He might die. You want to meet Luke before you potentially wander off and die forever? But I think it's a sweet scene. I like that Luke gets to meet him. We know in A New Hope that like he's had some interactions with Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
Over the last 9 years, so it doesn't break canon or anything like that. It's just a sweet moment.
Vash, what about you?
It was beautiful to finally see the hello there. The two things I wanted from the series: to hear the hello there, and to see the Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan, and we got them. Obviously, the Qui-Gon as well as next, but that's to say two for now. And it was just perfectly done, and just for what exactly Chris said, almost probably like, damn, this dude's literally about to walk off. He might die. Let me at least see him, have him meet the caretaker person he's supposed to be taking care of, Luke. And let me at least say hi. Get to meet the guy that took care of his father and got him to the dark side. So let's just have that happen. So it was nice to see.
He gives him the toy off screen.
That's fun. That too.
Yeah.
He does finally get the toy off screen, so that's finally nice to see too.
Hey, what about you?
Look, I'm just overwhelmingly satisfied and happy and content. This has just been. We're getting good Star Wars content again. We're because the I'm just going on a tangent. I'm so sorry. I forgot what the original question was. Bring me back to reality real quick, JB. What
the scene between Obi-Wan and Owen, and then like him letting him actually talk to Luke for the first time.
I didn't care too much because like my heart was already full, but emotionally Obi-Wan needed this, at least at this moment. We know, of course, he'll get to train Luke and get to meet him, but after all that Obi-Wan has been through leading up to this, and the guilt and how he's blamed himself, and even how Owen has made him feel guilty, like, oh, like the way you did his father, right? It's just like, man, thank you for at least giving him this chance, Thank you for at least giving him this moment to say hi to the boy, if anything. Especially after so much time he spent with Leia. Like you mentioned, Chris, when we were talking about Reva and what does Reva add to what Leia has done for Obi-Wan has been so much. Okay, cool. But also, let's not forget that there's going to be an Obi-Wan Luke connection. So let's give him at least a moment. And I'm glad they did it off screen. It wasn't like, oh, let's show it. They said, all right, this is going to happen, then we're going to cut away. I'm glad that they did that. It was necessary. And Owen, like, my bad, G. We know you tried your best. We can't all blame you for the path that Anakin took. It's selfish to do so. It's selfish.
I will say this, getting back to the, everything with Reva on Tatooine and chasing Luke, and I think Owen and Beru in all those scenes, and we talked about Beru with her guns and stuff, like, the whole reason Obi-Wan can wander off into the desert is because he now sees that Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are strong protectors. Yeah. Luke doesn't need him. And that's kind of the conflict that he and Owen have in episode 1 of this show. Mm-hmm. That Obi-Wan feels entitled to being a part of Luke's life because he doesn't understand that Beru and Owen can actually protect him. I do really like that in those moments.
You actually, that's really it right there. That's really what it is, Chris. Is that Obi-Wan now, because Obi-Wan all this time has been like, I have to do it. Yeah. It's on me. It's on me. I have to make the sacrifice. I have to be the one. I'm responsible for this boy. I'm responsible for this child. And it's more like, yo, you have allies. Use them. Or else you will make the same mistake that she did that helped lead to what we now, one of my favorite characters in it is my favorite character in all of Star Wars lore. We would get a repeat of that. You have to understand that you are not alone. you have to understand that you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it by yourself. You have to understand that you need to trust others. Because even when, you know, earlier I said the Jedis are fucking ignorant, they're self-righteous, self-serving. This was another moment for Obi-Wan where he kind of just understood more about who he was and about people rather than like, oh, I have to still abide by the Jedi code. This was another like small moment, nothing too serious. I won't try to exaggerate, but small moment to that, like into that direction. So it was necessary. It was good.
Yeah, and another thing that I like about this moment is like his robes that he's wearing are very close, like with the goggles and everything, very close to Star Wars number 15 from the 2015 Star Wars run, which takes place right after this. So it's like you could watch Obi-Wan Kenobi, pick up that 2015 run of Star Wars, and just kind of follow along with what Obi-Wan was doing after this. You can, you know, pick up Rebels, see his next moment with Maul, and then into A New Hope, dude. Like, I love it. I love all of this connectivity that we've been doing. And then, like Vash alluded to earlier, he's riding off towards the sunset, and we finally get the Qui-Gon reveal. I absolutely love this. And Qui-Gon tells him, like, I've always been here, bro. Like, you just weren't ready to see. And I absolutely love this. So Chris, tossing it to you, like, did you know that we were going to see Qui-Gon, and what were your thoughts when we finally saw him?
I knew that Qui-Gon was going to be in the show, but I think the show does an excellent job setting it up from episode 1. You know, as we were talking about earlier, at the beginning of this episode, we have Obi-Wan reaching out into the Force to try and contact Qui-Gon before he has to go and fight Vader. And he does this multiple times over the course of the 6 episodes. So if we didn't see Qui-Gon in the show, that would also be terrible writing because it's all about setups and payoffs, right? So we set up the fact that Obi-Wan has been trying to train. He's been trying to see Qui-Gon as a Force ghost, but he's failed at communicating with him. So I love the fact that in the very last moments of this series, we finally get this really touching moment between Master and Padawan. And he tells him that he's been here the whole time watching over him. He was just never ready to see. And it's so touching, you know, that what a great way to end a series called Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Yeah.
Like he himself, a master, has finally been reunited with his own master, who I'm sure he has felt guilt over, you know, being a part of that fight with Maul in Phantom Menace for many years as well. But it's just a really great interaction. I will say this, in a less serious note, if Qui-Gon has been watching Obi-Wan from the moment that he died, you'd think an apology might be in order for forcing this boy upon him, and then seeing how what Vader turned into. You know,
self-righteous,
just like a little. I'm sorry.
It was the path.
It
Anakin
was
the chosen one. Once we get to episode 6, we know that he was still the chosen one. Anakin brought balance to the Force by also creating Luke and Leia to be the two sides of the light against him and Sidious. He did bring balance in multiple ways. So the prophecy still rings true. You know?
And I'm mostly
interpretations of prophecies don't go the way you think it will.
Right.
That's the issue.
And it's not going to work in your timeline. You know?
Yeah.
It took like 20-something years for it to happen.
For real. Beautiful thing.
But
Vash, I still think he should have been like, yo, you know what, my G? I didn't realize it would go this way, to be honest.
You did a great job tackling this hardship that I like, sent you on.
Ooh, I thought it would be good. I thought it'd go better than this. Not gonna lie to you, Obi. Not gonna lie to you. But instead we get like, hey, I mean, shit, was I wrong? Is he not the chosen one? I mean, shit. I didn't say it was gonna work out that way. I just said he was a chosen one. I don't know where you got all that extra shit from, Obi. I would have liked an apology too.
What if he just like was like, nudge, nudge? You know, you see that boy that you just left behind? I kind of think he might be the chosen one.
At this point,
at that point, Obi-Wan would just be like, shut up. No more chosen ones.
Are we going or are we going? Because I ain't hearing this from you. If this is why you showed up again, if this is why I came to see you again to tell me that there's another chosen one, I'm going to be done with you.
Every person we pass is a chosen one. I'm tired of this bullshit.
There's two more got me dead. Oh my
But Vash, what
goodness,
about
yo.
you? Did you anticipate Qui-Gon showing up in the finale, and what were your thoughts actually seeing Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon?
To your first question, did I expect? I expected like 5 episodes, 2 episodes ago, maybe at the ship of Roken. Did I expect it while he was walking away? No, because at that point I was like, all right, cool. He's literally about to walk to the sunset, end credit, go to black. I'm like, cool. I don't think it's gonna pop. So it literally threw me off guard. Literally seeing our boy,
Hence the
Liam
weeping
Neeson.
on the train.
Literally, I don't know if people saw me, and I didn't give a fuck. Like, this was my phone. I mean, this was my tablet, and I was just watching like, going on. I was just crying like, I didn't expect that for him to be there. I was like, oh my god, I got all the things I wanted. Qui-Gon, hello there, Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan. The motion scene. While we got Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor for these scenes. And Liam Neeson came back and he said, I've been here the whole time. And yes, I agree with Chris and Abe. This motherfucker needs to give a fucking explanation. But also Obi-Wan read between the lines when there was no lines. He literally said he's the chosen one. It literally could have been tomato. Could have been for the dark side, could have been for the good side. We don't know what it meant for chosen one. He could have said, hey, I'm going to give to the balance of the force, meaning to the Sith, to the dark side. Because in 20 years later, he's going to give the balance to the force of his kids. And that's what we're going to bring. So I just love how technically it's Obi-Wan's fault and Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was just too ambiguous, but that's just saying 2 words, chosen one. And it was Obi-Wan's fault to be like, all right, he probably means this and this and this. Like, where the hell did he get all that from? So 100% agree that he should have give maybe some type of apology. Like, yo,
what a burden on your deathbed to be like his last words were literally like, promise me you'll train the boy. You know, like if I was
like
Obi-Wan to be like
guilt trip, but like
no,
couple
more words,
like
couple more words.
Like,
you know
like,
what? How would it have felt
to?
if Qui-Gon was like, "Damn, Obi-Wan, I told you to train the boy, not turn him into a fucking Darth Vader." Like,
dude, oh my god.
Yo, did you
like,
not listen to me? Like,
I said,
told
take
you
care of him.
Literally, Obi, I told you from the beginning this boy is special. Did I not? Did I not tell you take care of this boy? And what
his midichlorian levels are off the charts.
You treated him like he was
God.
a burden. And this is, he could have further guilt trip if it was toxic, which it should have been. It would, you know what? Maybe somebody would create, like, you know how on YouTube they do those funny videos and one. Maybe somebody would do that with Qui-Gon and be like, "Wow, you really
like this is how it should have ended," something like that.
Yeah, like, wow, you really fucked up, Obi-Wan. This is what I died for. The Darth Maul killed me for this. Like, and you know, damn, you couldn't get it right.
All of this speaks to how much knowledge Sidious has of the Force over even Master Yoda in some aspects, because Sidious had the knowledge to know the smart thing to do isn't to kill this boy, because the Force would then find some other way to balance itself out. Mm-hmm. I take him, turn him to the dark side, because there's still a bunch of other Jedi to balance out the light. So it's like, it makes sense to turn him. It's like, it's crazy that Sidious was able to stay hidden under Yoda this whole time and didn't know. And it just shows to, again, his knowledge within the Force. But then I love that we get this final scene of Obi-Wan literally riding off into the sunset. And then we know the next couple of times that we're going to see him. I think this was a brilliant ending to the episode. It makes for a brilliant finale. I thought Obi-Wan as a whole was incredible. So let's get into our closing questions part of the review. Like, after seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi as it is right now, and Chris, I'll start with you. Do you want to see a season 2?
No, definitely not. As I mentioned, I think that Obi-Wan has gone on a complete journey. We've seen him go from a broken man to General Kenobi, basically, again. He's made the full transition from Ewan McGregor to Alec Guinness. I don't need any more. The more we do this, the closer we get to fucking with continuity and canon. And, like, you know me, every week I'm constantly like, concise storytelling. Season 2 is the opposite of that. So, no, that's a big old no for me. I'm satisfied with what we got.
Hey, what about you?
I said it before. I don't need a season 2 of Obi-Wan. Everything that I feel like they accomplished everything they needed to with season 1. I mean, not everything needs a season 2, just plain and simple. This one was done very well. Is at this point, what more do we want to see? And the funny thing is, I know people can say that about Vader, and my response to you is, I don't care. It's Vader. That's different. The rules don't apply. So good luck trying to convince me otherwise. But with Obi-Wan, it's like, I mean, what else do we want to see? Like, his importance, his value was at its highest with this Vader interaction. And then when we see him again, I haven't watched Rebels, so that's still on my list. We see him again in Rebels, but we also see him again in the original, trilogy. Like, his story has kind of been told. At this point, you're just giving us extra shit just to give us extra shit because you want to give us content. That's really it. Unless and even then, you can't do a season 2. What you would have to do if you want to give us more Obi-Wan, he has to be like a supporting character in other people's stories. Like, whether it's as a cameo, like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan is, or he comes in for an episode to help save the day, and then bam, he's out while we still focus on the story of whoever else we're with. But it makes no sense to focus more on Obi-Wan. Like, you want to see him try to his adventures to rebuild the Jedi Order. That seems kind of repetitive, does it not?
Yeah, Obi-Wan's existence from this point until A New Hope could literally just be living a tranquil life in the middle of the desert, training with Qui-Gon to learn how to manifest himself after death. Like, I can imagine that's probably going to take a lot of training, and you're probably going to have to be pretty zen and monk-like in your living habits to accomplish that. So I don't think he really needs to go on any more adventures before A New Hope. Like, he should solely dedicate himself, now that he's reconnected to the Force, and maybe buying in to the not so self-righteous aspects of the Jedi religion. Maybe he could just dedicate himself to that. So yeah, I think Abe's right.
That'd be a beautiful slice of life.
Vash, what about you? Do you want a season 2?
Hell damn no. Do not need it. As much as that I was entertained for this is, and once we give our final thoughts on everything, like, Obi-Wan was great. It had, like Chris said in the group chat, had beautiful highlight moments, but this just filled in the gap of what we would like and what we needed just to fill the extra exposition. But season 2, not needed. I have other thoughts of another series we could have, but once we get to next questions, do you have for us? But season 2, don't need it, don't want it. As much as that Kathleen Kennedy might want to make it because of the audience, the views, or whatever, you may give it the highest view count, the highest show watching Disney Plus. At the end of the day, nobody needs season 2. The story could be there no matter what you dig. Like Chris said, you're getting too close to retcon it, and I don't want you to be like Fox. Continue shmanu because I don't give a fuck. So do not try to be like Fox now. All right, please. You own them already. Do not fuck up like them now.
Yeah, please, I'm gonna echo everything that everyone else said. Like, I don't need a season 2 at all. It's his story is wrapped up. Like Chris was saying, we could just go from here. We know what happens in Rebels, straight into A New Hope. He's been training with Qui-Gon to learn to manifest himself into the Force itself, so that when, for Luke, you know what I mean? So it's like we have closure with Obi-Wan. And I think it's fair to say that we all would love a Vader series. So Chris, starting with you, if we got a Vader series, and Hayden Christensen said himself that he would love a Vader series. He thinks there's so much lore, there's so much story that could be told with Vader, and there's a lot of time in between, right? We have like 20 years that we can play with between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So Chris, like, if we got a Vader series, what timeline, where in the timeline would you want that series to take place?
So going into this episode, James and I were having a conversation about this very question, but I will say that Abe has kind of changed my mind in terms of where I want the Vader series to take place, but I'll give both answers. My initial answer was I would love for a Vader series to take place right after Revenge of the Sith, when he's still Anakin, really, transitioning into Vader, having to bleed his Kyber crystal. Like, I want to see the full transition to Vader. I think that would be really cool. We've seen it in the comics. And when it comes to Lucasfilm, their live action or animated media, they take and leave whatever they want from the comics, really. You know, like it's a toss up whether or not a comic is canon one day and not the next. But there are a lot of really cool ideas in that time period in the Vader comics where we see him making that transition. However, what Abe said earlier in this episode, one of the things that the prequels did to Darth Vader is they softened him, you know, because we have all this backstory. We know more about Anakin. And yet in 1977, when Star Wars first came out, Vader was representative of pure evil. Like, there was not a person underneath that mask. He was the most evil entity in the galaxy. And I think a series like Abe was talking about, which focuses on now to A New Hope. What does he do? What terrible things does he do to become, again, that representation of pure evil in A New Hope? You know? Because every time I look at Vader, since I was a kid, you know, but since before the prequels came out, that's what Vader was. He was scary to me. But after seeing the prequels in theaters, even as a young child, I was like, Vader's not as scary anymore. Like, there's a man under this mask. It's humanized him in a way that has changed him from like a force of nature into a man, you know? So like, I can only imagine the things that he would need to do to accomplish the legacy that we originally saw him in A New Hope. So I think Abe had an excellent idea. That would be fucking dope to just see him like destroy shit over the next 9 years would be really
truly
cool.
A Disney show where there is no hero. It is about this being becoming the living embodiment of evil.
I don't know if Disney and Lucasfilm have the balls to make something like that.
Right?
This is what HBO would give us, or
But,
Amazon Prime. They would
cool.
give us this.
Oh, definitely Amazon. You know, Herogasm.
So I'll jump in real quick before I toss it to the rest of you guys, because I feel literally the exact same way as Chris. At first, I was like, because I just recently reread Lords of the Sith, I'm like, give me Vader right after Revenge of the Sith. I want to see him fight that Jedi. I keep forgetting his name every time I bring this up, but I keep forgetting the Jedi's name, who was incredibly powerful off on another planet, training, meditating while Order 66 was happening. And he felt the millions of lives lost during Order 66. I would love to see that fight between him and Vader, him bleeding his Kyber crystal and actually having that red lightsaber standing in front of Sidious, truly becoming Vader, right? But just like Chris said, I kind of want what Abe was talking about. I would love to see what he's doing between those 9 years where it's just absolute fucking carnage. It's more of Vader from episode 3 dragging people through the streets and then force crushing their throats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
because there's
I would
stories there.
love that. Yeah.
You can meet a lot of
not
interesting characters like Dr. Aphra and whatnot. You can meet those and we can see, like, because at the end of the day, while the comics show like, yo, Vader's of course, Chris, or you already said it, we've seen time and time again in the comics where Palpatine is like, yeah, I'm gonna leave you for dead. How did he overcome those situations? Like, he is not a perfect evil being yet. How does he become perfected? What does he go through? Because it's enough to make you be like, damn, this guy is a monster, but like, oh shit, he met another monster. How he's gonna overcome this? I would love it would be dope. Especially for the Vader fan in me.
What other experiences does he go through to where he meets Obi-Wan in A New Hope that he is now the master and no longer the learner for when he left Obi-Wan on that moon? You know, so it's like, it's all there, man. But Vash, where do you land on this? Where do you want it to take place?
So funny enough, I'm on the same boat as you and Chris, but for different reasons. I would love to see the Darth Vader after Revenge of the Sith, but just like Chris mentioned, that Lucasfilm like to pick and choose what they have done in the novels and comics and put in live action and make it canon more or less. But from what James read of the Lord of the Sith, I would love to see that, the Darth Vader after Revenge of the Sith, to see that. But Lucasfilm would not do, or taking Disney Plus would not do it as good as we would like to see it on screen. And then fans that has read the
Don't
comic
be a coward, Disney Plus. Don't be cowards. Do it.
Exactly. So for that reason, as much as hype, I would love to see that. When we see that, I'll be like, man, now it's good, now it's powerful, nitpicking every single thing. And it wouldn't look as good on paper, art, drawing, the writing, and the detail. You felt the emotion. Yes, as much as we love to see the emotion on screen, I don't feel like it will transition as well as we would like to see. But just like Abe brought up, I was on the fence like, hold up, how about we do something that we don't have a source material from, but we could know and lead up to the New Hope. The guy that I keep hearing, even though I haven't seen the film, the best scene of Darth Vader in Rogue One. We know how ruthless he is, how the intensity of the evilness of Darth Vader is in New Hope. And Empire Strikes Back, as said person, everyone fear him. So I would love to see that character. We have the next 9 years. And Hayden Christensen could come back and do some flashback of trying to kill more of the Anakin character. Maybe a couple scenes, maybe a couple flashbacks. That's how we could bring him. So maybe when he needs to heal and when he goes inside the bucket tank, boom, flashback transition to him trying to feel the pain of his legs or the arm. And we see a flashback of Anakin and maybe a flashback of Obi-Wan if we want to do that, you know, that type of transition as well. So I would love to see a season of Darth Vader. Right there, I wrote a bit of a story for Disney Plus and our boy Lucasfilm if they actually want to do it correctly.
Yeah, man. Like this is some really good shit. Like I would love to see a Vader series. I would love for it to just to get more of Hayden. Like it would be great. You know what I mean? Like he's so good.
I think we will. I think we'll get more of him in Ahsoka.
Yeah. Oh, you have to, right? Like,
you have to. Finally, a live action of both of them together on screen. When the last time we got it was in Rebels. Oh my gosh.
Ahsoka's really looking up, man. Like it's really, really looking up to be like a really, really cool series. Like flashbacks to her and Anakin would be so dope. Like just like Vash was saying, to see it live action. But Abe, was there anything else that you wanted to add to?
Oh no, I said everything I needed to say. Yeah, you know me. It's Vader all the way, baby.
Okay. So we've already been running pretty long, but I do want us to still have some kind of conversation surrounding Reva and her purpose in Obi-Wan. And I'll go first real quick. I'll just give my points and I'll toss it to you guys and we can, see how we all feel about it. Right? So with Reva, for me, Reva is a driving force within this story. Reva is is pretty much the main Inquisitor still looking for Obi-Wan, right? And it's because of Reva Leia gets kidnapped. Because of that forces Obi-Wan out of retirement. It forces him to Daiyu, where he meets Haja, in which Haja is the one that gives him the coordinates to Mapuzo, where Obi-Wan meets Tala and Roken and the other rebels. And it just feels Reva, step by step, has been a driving force moving Obi-Wan and moving these characters along. Again, Reva, I think, is a brilliant parallel to Anakin. A lot of features that we saw in Anakin, we see in Reva. Her temperament, her anger, right? Like her hatred against the Jedi for not saving them, right? And then again, we talked about this a lot in episode 4. We see great parallels between her and Leia. Because she was a youngling, taken by the Empire, tortured, twisted, and becoming an Inquisitor. And that could have happened to Leia. And she was telling Leia, no one's coming for you. No one's looking for you. Don't worry about it. Obi-Wan's dead. No one loves you. The best thing you can do is look out for yourself, which is an exact parallel to what happened to Reva as a kid. So there's so much of what she brings to this story that drives everything forward. She is the reason why Obi-Wan and Vader meet again, period, in this moment. She's the reason why that happens. in episode 5, Reva plays into Obi-Wan's further guilt of failure when it came to Order 66. This was a youngling that survived, and she became an Inquisitor, and she's tortured by this. He failed. Reva's like, where were you, Obi-Wan? Where were you when he was killing my family? It plays into that. And when we get that final scene in the finale between them, it's a moment of deeper redemption for Obi-Wan. And yes, we already got that closure with Vader, but it's an extra piece of acceptance where it's like, you know what? This is also another part of this where I thought I only saw failure, but I was able to redeem her. And where Reva is important in this moment is what Obi-Wan does for her. Obi-Wan tells her, no, you're not like Vader. The fact that you were able to spare Luke, you've honored your friends, you've honored your family. That gives Reva closure. That gives a youngling closure. She can now move on with her life because of Obi-Wan. You know what I mean? So to me, she is so important in this story. And yes, arguments can be made that maybe you could remove Reva and the story's the same, but I think she adds so much to this. Again, with the parallels to Anakin, with the parallels to Leia, with the parallels to Obi-Wan's sense of failure. She is so key and integral to, again, moving everything forward. He doesn't end up on Daiyu without this. Obi-Wan doesn't meet Leia without Reva. They don't have that connection, so that when we see Leia call for Obi-Wan in A New Hope, it means so much more. It's all because of Reva. Again, she's a driving force in all of this. She gave us a perspective of Order 66 that we've never seen. We've never seen a youngling survivor. And this only goes into Chris's point, where it feels like we've cheated Reva by not giving her her own series, right? This is where I agree with Chris wholeheartedly. You've cheated the character because it's like she's here, but again, and I agree, if you took her out and replaced her with a different character that's not an Inquisitor, it kind of would be the same. But I love what the Reva character does for the story. So that's all I'll say on that for there. Chris, I'll toss it to you for any rebuttals you had with anything I said.
No, I'm glad that, she works so well for you, to be perfectly honest. Again, and I spoke in a very long-winded manner earlier in the episode about this whole thing, but I just wish she was written better. I think you make a lot of really great points, and she is absolutely a tool within the script to get Obi-Wan from point A to point B. And I think they could have made a more concise show if they had said how they. So here's one thing that kind of bugs me, and this harkens back to what I was saying earlier about how they are making shows about legacy characters, and yet they are trying to take their Disney Star Wars characters and make them the focal points. Like Mando's episodes in the Book of Boba Fett were the best episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, and yet the show is called the Book of Boba Fett. He doesn't even fucking appear in the best episode of the series. Why is that? It just feels. I feel like that Disney, instead of trying to craft a really good story, they have some type of agenda in terms of just making more content. It's never about the content that's in front of us. It's always about more content. We need more content because we have a streaming service. What seeds can we plant in this, regardless of whether or not they help the story in any way, to make sure that we will always have more content, And yes, Hollywood is a business. Their prime objective is to make money. So I totally get that. But they had to kill the Grand Inquisitor, an established character, to put Reva in this position that the Grand Inquisitor could have done, and then they brought him back. James and I, before the recording, were talking about meaningless deaths in Star Wars and how Rise of Skywalker is full of them, full of 3 of them, It's we knew the Grand Inquisitor was going to come back, but they had to remove him in a meaningless, empty way just so this other character could be here. And I would so much rather have seen a 6-episode series about Reva, this Padawan who experienced Order 66 and trying to take on Darth Vader without any of the Obi-Wan shit, than force her into this series. You know, another crucial thing that I mentioned a couple weeks ago when we were recording is that like one of the most important things that Reva does in this series is that she tells Obi-Wan that Anakin is alive, you know? But I feel like that same thing could have been accomplished without that character. Like, look at Ahsoka. Look at Ahsoka in Rebels. No one tells her that Anakin is alive. She feels him. She feels his presence through the Force. And it's not until the helmet cracks in Rebels that she's like full of sorrow. She's like, oh my God, this is my old apprentice. And yes, you'd be retreading old ground because they already did it in Rebels. But like literally you could have done the same thing. Obi-Wan is equally as powerful as Ahsoka. And the moment that made James and I cry in this episode would have been even more powerful because like this is the first time in the series where he's like, I feel like, imagine this. If he was like, I feel like Anakin is under this mask, but I don't want to believe it. Like it can't be true, you know? And he's dueling Vader on this isolated planet and the masks crack. And then when he says, Anakin, I'm so sorry. Like this is the first time he's confirming that Vader is alive. So while I really like a lot of the things that Reva's accomplishing in this series, I think the script is underserving her. And she isn't really doing anything for the overall story of Obi-Wan in any huge way. James pointed out a lot of great moments and a lot of ways in which she really is impacting Obi-Wan in this show. But, you know, I guess I'm just a typical fucking Star Wars fan where I'm always trying to like reshape how these stories are being told.
Not at all,
and I feel
bro.
like that's a detriment to the
valid
fandom.
Points. You have great points.
But like, I think both Reva and Obi-Wan could have been served better if everything was handled differently. You know, that's just my opinion.
Completely fair, dude. But Abe, where do you land on this? How do you feel about Reva?
For me, I wanted from the beginning, I was interested in what she was going to do. You know, her purpose, because one of the biggest gripes after episode 1 is like she thinks she could get Vader. Like again, we know that Vader historically, you cannot surprise Vader. Mm-hmm. The only instances in canon that Vader has been surprised is by the Knights, and this is a comic spoiler, I'm so sorry, but whatever. The Knights of Ren, they surprised him when they went to commit a heist because them niggas just came in and was like, yo, we got no plan. We just here to we winging it. And he wasn't expecting them. He didn't think that they would be a threat. And who would dare go to Mustafar without a plan? So, of course, it makes sense. So this one was like, yo, so Reva really thinks she's going to get the icon of evil in Star Wars like that? Of course not. But she served as a mirror into, here is what happens when you do give into the Force, because like Anakin, she did give into the Force, into the Sith. She did give into the dark side. She did accept him. She adopted, she embraced him, regardless of what her reasoning was. Because what was Vader's reasoning for accepting the power? Anakin's reasoning. He wanted to do it to get more powerful, to avenge. He had good intentions.
Yeah, to save Padme from dying.
Yeah, it just didn't work. Reva has, revenge is not really good intention, but Reva has legitimate understanding reasons. It didn't go the way she wanted. Now, what JB said was very important. Without Reva, how do we get Obi-Wan and Leia? Of course, you can come up with something else, but this one made sense because it allowed you to go back to Order 60. It allowed you to pick up exactly where, well, not exactly since it wasn't immediately after, but it allows you to pick up from Revenge of the Sith, you know? And from there, we see her bring in Leia. We see her obsession. We see her desire to get revenge eventually. And then her moment. You can strike Vader right where, and the funny thing is though, and this is very presumptuous of her, Vader don't know about these kids. Like Vader didn't know about Luke until like it was basically too late. Like, come on now, is it really his fault? Like, you killing Luke, what would that have really done? Let's be real. And that's where Chris is right. The writing could have been so much better for her, right? But still, she had this moment where in Obi-Wan we had a small storyline with her, and it came full circle. It came full circle. Again, she had Luke where she wanted him. She had the lightsaber out. She could have killed him, but instead she kept seeing herself. And when we were looking at her, we kept seeing Anakin, and and it wasn't the first time too. They did the same thing when Vader stabbed her. Yeah, it was great imagery, and it's one that you can't do without her, right? But again, Chris, you made some very, very good points. Overall, though, I'm happy that we at least got introduced to Reva. I'm happy that, given what she had, she made me happy. I was like, I would love to see more of her as Reva. You know, wherever you want to spin some new stories for her, I definitely want to dive into her catalog and see her act in other roles. I liked Reva. I like what she was able to offer, because especially just looking outside the fandom, she was a Black woman that was given such a low-key a big role. Like, they were willing to allow this Black woman to be a driving force of this show that is about legacy characters, that iconic legacy characters. Now, mind you, it's unfortunate that didn't work out the best way, because, like you mentioned again, Chris, they pre-warned her, and that shows you just how, like, y'all knew what would happen. Y'all knew. Y'all are not deaf. Y'all know how to read the room. And yet, you could have made the script a lot better for her. Instead, not only is it just pure prejudice and ignorance that has people speaking out against her, but low-key, it's kind of, I won't say lazy, but it's average writing, I guess I would say. Average writing that you gave her, and you're basically telling her, like, make magic happen. We know you can do it. It's like, well, no, y'all didn't give me the best tools. Which, again, I mean, if we wanted to, we can look at society as a whole, where society doesn't give people of color, Black people and people of color, the best tools. But hey, that's a discussion for another day that doesn't need to be here. But overall, yes, I'm happy that we got to see Reva. I understand every logical and sensible person's gripes with her. I understand it, and I don't disagree. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is that Lucasfilms, Disney Plus, Disney in general, they could have done a much better job. There was definitely room for improvement with her, but they could have made it worse too. They really could have made it worse too.
You know, we talked about this last week in terms of how, like, Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios have, for some reason, put themselves in this box where every single show has to be 6 to 9 episodes on a streaming service that has no advertising. And, like, the primary reason that shows are the length that they are is because traditionally, when we were using cable instead of streaming, you would have to put advertisements, commercials, in the middle of shows. So, like, an hour-long show has a 45-minute runtime because you have 15 minutes of advertisement in the middle of it, right? That's not the case here. So, like, it drives me crazy that they even have underwritten characters, because you don't have to be 6 episodes long. You don't have to be 9 episodes. You could be 8 episodes. You could be 12 episodes. You could be 11 episodes. You could be a movie.
You don't need to be 42 minutes either. You can go to full 60.
Just write the scripts that, like, I'm so tired of saying this, and I'm sorry, James. Write the scripts that best serve the story you want to tell. Make sure that they're the best they could possibly fucking be. And then however long that happens to be, dish the episodes out however you need to for that story that you want to tell. You know, if to flush Reva out, we need 3 more episodes, and you need to sprinkle in more details about her past. Dude, I would have loved, I mean, we got to see her as a kid, and we got to see her as, like, how old is she in the show? Maybe 20? Right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Like a young adult. We got to see her as a kid and a young adult. Dude, I would have loved to see some stuff of her when she first joined the Inquisitorius. Like, after they picked her up, training to be an Inquisitor. Like, that stuff is super interesting too.
So,
like, I don't know. I just feel like they need to get out of this box and, like, realize what they have. But again, it's a business. So, like, there might be reasons that I'm not seeing that, like, for some reason, a 6-week air period is good for viewership, or like a 9-week air period is like a good number for viewers. Like, they must have some data where they're like, this is it, this is what's working. But I'm not privy to that, obviously. But I don't know. I'm rambling now. Vash, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna just add out, because it is my answer to the question of what you and A was talking about much earlier, that some people would have not watched an actual show about Reva but like it didn't have to be real because what happened to the fifth Inquisitor and I think the fourth or it was the second Inquisitor that she probably had only 2 lines throughout the whole 6 episodes, and
Fourth
if they actually
sister.
made, yeah, yes, third sister, thank you, and that's something that we could have actually had a grand or some type of the Inquisitor show where we could have them and Darth Vader, where we could have Hayden, where we can actually have this as season and we can have the actual Inquisitors, all of them. Because remember how we went back in episode 4, I believe, when they just in the boardroom and they all just had the conversation of like, hey, I'm the one that doesn't want to talk to Lord Vader and everything else. That's an interesting side that we don't see from the Sith, that we could see of how the Inquisitors act, take control, take command, go search around planets for the Jedi. Remember of how she said that, hey, I had to try to protect them, but I had to kill other Jedis because I need to get close to hunt Lord Vader. Maybe that would have been nice to see that, so we could get a bit more of the backstory of her character. Will we get that because of said rumors? Because there might be a show of her. I would be fine of a flashback, but I'd rather get Inquisitors, meaning not just her, but the other peers around her. That'd be more interesting for a character, and I feel like that'd be more of a better viewership than just her. We get other characters of the Inquisitors, and Darth Vader could pop in here and there as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a great idea. A show about it, Inquisitors, and watching them like go around the galaxy hunting Jedi and Force users. That would be really, really interesting. Like as much as I would want to see where Reva goes from here, getting to see like her process to becoming an Inquisitor, and doing all of these horrible things in order to prove herself. That would be really interesting to watch as well, because we know where she's going to end up, and then like watching what she would have to do is like, man, she's really come like a long way. So I think either way it would be great. And again, like I'm with Chris, right? It would have been better served. Like I would have loved a Reva series after seeing Reva in Obi-Wan. I agree. I kind of wish that we just got a Reva series, but it's just like, it's business, man. Like it's just, there's certain things that just won't play well without a spin-off. You know what I mean? As popular as the Flash is, he had to spin off of Arrow, right? Like we had to get the viewership of him interacting with Oliver and how they work together in order for people to care. So
That's
it's like
wild,
there has
yeah.
to be some kind of jumping off point, because now people can be like, oh shit, I love Reva, give her a show. There has to be some kind of jumping off point. So it's like, as much as I agree with all of your points, it's just like, this is just the way it is, and I'm just accepting it, and I am just like, I'm appreciative of what we got, because we could have gotten nothing, right? Because if they actually made an Obi-Wan movie, I doubt Reva would have been in it. I
Definitely
doubt
not.
No.
I doubt Leia would have been a part of the storyline either. Like I don't know. I think it could have been just like Obi-Wan and Vader. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm grateful for what we got. But yeah, all of your points made, like I wish we got a standalone series, or like you guys were already alluding to, if we could just have more on the runtime. It still could have been 6 episodes. We talked about this before. Episode 4 without credits is only 32 minutes.
Yeah.
15,
I was disgusted by that.
if you added 15 minutes to that episode that was just Reva flashbacks, that also fits in with the parallels that I made between her and Leia and her and Anakin and Order 66, that would have worked. There were some episodes that's only 39 minutes or like 41 minutes. You could have tacked on like 10 more minutes to each one of those episodes, and all of that time solely dedicated to Reva. And it could have worked. We could have gotten more. It could have been better.
They were doing it like
But
it was
they dropped the
anime
ball, bro.
episodes. I felt disgusted. I was like, what is...
And plus,
But what were you gonna
especially
say,
when it
Vash?
was like, oh, the episode is over. I'm so sorry, Vash. Episode is over, and it's like, oh, there's 5 minutes. Am I gonna get after credits? No, it's just showing you the credit scenes in 20 different languages. I'm like, okay.
You have 51 minutes for the finale, but you only show 41. So I'm like, you have a 10 minutes of credits. Like, come on, like this is the finale of possibly the series. There's no yet confirmation of season 2, so this could have been the finale. I wish we got more. And before we transition out, I didn't get my thoughts of her as a character. Like Chris, I love her as a character introduced, but I wish we got more. It's some information because now she's still alive in Tattooing in the Sand. What happened to her character? Are we gonna get more? Because she's probably still alive with that pain. Is she like what's her turn? Where's she gonna go? Is she gonna help the rebels? Are we gonna see her possibly in Andor? Is she one of the rebels that we never got to meet? Who the hell knows? But that's the thing that I'm curious about her character. Like, did they write this new character, but without an actual end goal, like they did with the sequels? Like, okay, guys, let's make a character, but black. Let's put his, for the POC and everything. But I don't know where she's gonna go. I'm like, so why are we doing her? So that's
honestly, if they don't make a fucking spin-off series, I think I'm gonna be even more pissed.
I wouldn't blame you.
Because I agree because it will feel the same like Finn. You had an interesting character, but then you just don't use it like you should have. You have the potential of a lot more. So for this character, Arriva, that is smart, was part of the Young, was part of the Order 66. Her history is already interesting. She's already has a garden of layers for her character possibilities. But for you to actually water this garden, for it to go give us a flashback of a series with the Inquisitors, or give us a spin-off, a 2 or 3 part episode just to see what happened to her character next, or if she's gonna pop in Endor or comic book or something. And I hope that is because I don't want a character to just be written and for us to be grateful or be happy that she was done, but not as good as she should have been. That's the thing that I wish that we all could be satisfied and be like, oh, she was great, but not just, oh, she was good, but could have been better. That's a thing that I hope with Star Wars, other shows that are not Mando taken care of by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, that with Mandalorian, we don't say that because they are written to the T for each minute and purposes. But with Book of Boba Fett and with Obi-Wan, like Chris has said, is not written for the story. It's more written for the fans and the audience before the story, which it could go both ways.
Yeah, man. Like, I love this. We had a really great conversation surrounding this. Like, there's so much potential for Star Wars. Like, we can clearly tell that we love Star Wars and, like, we're really passionate about this universe because the stories are great. And it's like, when they're not so great, we can't just sit here and just not talk about it. You know what I mean? We can't just like put on blinders and be like, yeah, it's perfectly fine. No, we have to talk about it. There are issues. There are things that they can do better. And this is sometimes where studios get complacent. It's like, well, these idiots love Star Wars. They'll just eat it up anyway.
Yeah, they'll take whatever we feed them.
Yeah, which is why Kathleen Kennedy went into the sequel trilogy with literally no fucking plan. And it's just like, yeah, the monkeys will just show up. They'll show up in droves. And
it's
we did.
Star Wars. It sells itself.
They all made $1 billion.
Prove that wrong.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, I also want them to do better. I also want them in some moments to just have a little more care with some of these characters. And instead of just trying to do a thing for a paycheck, let's focus on like actual stories. Because Kathleen Kennedy says these things. You know, she says, that's like, yeah, we're doing for the fans, for the story. I don't believe you, but that's a completely different story. Abe, I'm going to toss it to you first. Let me get your final thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
8 out of 10. That's it. Great lightsaber fights. Everything that I wanted regarding Vader, I was giving. It wasn't the most perfect medium, but it was a really good one that I can see myself rewatching again, just because like I want to, and I probably will during my chronological order, which I'm very excited about, that I get to see it all over again.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. I'm very satisfied with this show.
Vash, let me get your score and final thoughts.
Like I agree with Chris. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. As much as I love the Darth Vader, Qui-Gon, being the chosen one, all these moments are great. Tala, who are you? Never heard of you. Ned B, rest in peace to my boy.
The disrespect.
I will put a tombstone for you, my boy. I'll put the hard drive for you because wait, sorry, I can't find it because you was exploded, but somehow
It's all
tell
Tala's
us.
fault.
Yeah, makes no sense. Overall, 8 out of 10. All jokes aside, this show could have been a lot more better. I wish it took more time for the writing, for the script. There are some scenes that beautiful dialogue, really written, but then other dialogues were like, who the hell wrote this? Why did he just say this? It could have been a lot better. But at the end of the day, it's not like we have the Metacorians. So that's a whole different thing. So again, would I rewatch this any given day? Don't think so. Would I rewatch certain moments any given day? Hell to the hell yes. I'll probably go to YouTube and watch the full fight of the Darth Vader for anybody that could cut it, where I could just watch it in one single scene instead of going back to the Reva scene where I didn't give two F's about Luke because he was not gonna die, so I didn't feel the tension there. I'd rather see the whole fight of Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, round 2 and round 3. But overall, I will, like Abe said, if you're watching it in the whole order, you will be enjoying yourself and see, like Chris mentioned in the beginning,
Shout
you will
out
see
to
where owns the
Villains
leg and
also
everything
for
else.
that. Shout out to Villains for getting me right on the viewing order for Clone Wars animated series, because when you watch, I'm like, I just went with it. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is like a flashback episode, I guess. Like, all
I'm
right,
sorry that you got so far into it. I could have sworn
it's not
that
your
Vash
fault,
and I
because
told you
the first
earlier.
time I watched it years ago when it was coming out, that's how I watched it. And then the second time, this was like my third time, and then y'all told me, and I was like, I didn't get too far deep in it this time, so I'll restart it and watch it the right way. But it makes more sense now, so I had no idea.
In
I
Disney
just assumed
Plus,
flashback
please,
episodes.
for the mother of God, please put an option on release order. If you have an option on your service saying, would you want to watch in IMAX or widescreen, just put an option saying release order or chronologically order for Clone Wars, please. Because I'm tired of going to my phone Safari to check which episode I need to watch next. It's so much work. Just please.
And
it's not that hard. Just hire somebody.
They've done something. It's like they've done like the order of like the history of Mandalore that we've seen in like Rebels and like Clone Wars and stuff. But it's like, yeah, why not like have like the full chronological order with like the episodes from like Clone Wars and Rebels all mixed in. But like, Abe, I highly recommend whenever you get to the final season of Clone Wars, talk to Chris, get his list. Because the last 4 episodes line up perfectly with Revenge of the Sith, the movie.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And Chris has a timeline.
Broken down.
It was the greatest viewing experience fucking ever, bro. Like, this is just peak.
You've heard
you.
Like, oh my
god,
god,
you have 4 hours though to experience.
That's fun.
Yeah, but
thing.
it's fucking epic. But Chris, let me get your score and final thoughts.
What'd you say, Abe?
Oh, I was watching 4 hours. You know what I've been doing? Like every weekend, I've been watching like 8 episodes of Vampire Diaries. I've just been.
You'll be good.
So I'll be good. It'll be fun. You good?
So, I gave you guys a preview earlier in our group chat about what I would score this show. I think I have to give it a 7 out of 10 because I so generously gave the Book of Boba Fett a 6.5, which I think it's a little worse than that, but
sacrilege.
It's a solid 7 out of 10. I will absolutely come back to this series. I will. I'm sure I'll rewatch it at some point. There are a lot of great things in this show. Ewan McGregor is phenomenal in this entire show. He does not have a bad episode. He's just so great as Obi-Wan, and that Vader Obi-Wan fight at the end is something that I'm going to rewatch many times over the course of my life. So I'm still, I'm a broken record if nothing else. This was my most anticipated show for 2022. It did kind of disappoint because my expectations were so high, but I still got every moment that I wanted to get out of this show, which I'm incredibly happy about. I think it does, people will say what they will about how it changes canon and stuff. I have rewatched A New Hope since this show started airing, and I don't think it hurts it that much. I think it actually improves upon some things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things with Star Wars. Like as time goes on and they make more content, like we're forever changing the context of whatever's come before. And take that as you will, whether it's good or bad. It's just part of being a Star Wars fan. But yeah, 7 out of 10. I'll rewatch it at some point.
Yeah, for me, easily 8.5 out of 10. The only reason why it's not a 10 is because I have to be honest with myself. I do have problems with the fight sequences. I feel like we've come far enough to where these things can look way cleaner. There's just, again, with Tala and the Stormtroopers, it was worse than silly. It was kind of ridiculous. It's like, this is kind of embarrassing, watching this happening.
One of the things that I think is the reason for that is because they're using the volume technology. While the volume technology is incredibly immersive, it also hinders how you can move the camera around. So like in a film where you're on location and you can do whatever you want with the camera, place it wherever you want. Yes, you have the actors acting against a green screen, which isn't as good as like thrusting them into the environment that the volume provides. But I think it is kind of like a double-edged sword where you're like getting these great performances because the actors feel as though they're in the environments, but it also limits you in terms of like where the camera can be placed. So like dynamic fight scenes and sequences are a little lacking, I think, in some of these shows.
Yeah, but that would be like my only real criticism. And of course, I do wish that we got a little bit more story with Reva hidden out between these episodes, because there were definitely opportunities that were just left on the table. But I had the time of my life during this. This is some of the best use of the Force that we've seen in live action. This is the best use of the Force that we've ever seen in a lightsaber fight live action. Like, this is some of the best lightsaber fights. Like, watching Obi-Wan in episode 4 literally holding back the water in Fortress Inquisitorius was one of the coolest moments in all of fucking Star Wars. Like Abe was talking about, the moments with Vader's mask split in half, and just like the line of dialogue switching between the blue and the red, with Anakin going between the light and the dark. Incredible moments that we've never seen. Vader pulling down that ship to the fucking ground with one hand, ripping it apart using the Force. That is the best use of the Force that we've ever seen live action, fucking period. Like, Obi-Wan Kenobi as a series was just absolutely incredible, and there's just small, minor nitpicks that leaves it from becoming a perfect 10 for me. So it's right under Mando Season 1 and Season 2. I think it is just fucking incredible.
We also can't forget, I don't think none of us brought up, that's the first time we see the Force used as an earthquake to take down Obi-Wan as well from Darth Vader. I forgot to
bring that up. That's how he creates the crater. I completely forgot to bring that up, and the image.
James, you just click it back to me. That's why I brought it up, because that's also a beautiful moment that we saw the Force being used and being done by Darth Vader himself, saying that he just used the Force as like a freaking like some type of sonic boom on all the Earth to hit our boy Obi-Wan, and that's how he caused the crater. Like, that was just amazing. Like, just showing the pure brute force was awesome.
Yeah, man. Obi-Wan Kenobi was a great series. Can't wait for Ahsoka. Can't wait to see what comes next for Star Wars in general. Very excited for Taika's movie. He's been very adamant about wanting to create something completely new with different characters within the universe, as he should. So very excited for the future of Star Wars in terms of shows. But guys, thank you so much for joining me for this review. Everyone in chat, thank you guys so much for joining us as we spent almost 3 hours breaking down Obi-Wan Kenobi finale. I thought we had a great conversation, great breakdown. Agreed. Chris, tell the people where they can find you online.
You can find me personally on Twitter at Chris Conkling, talking about all things nerdy, comic books, television, movies, video games, collectibles. If it's nerdy, I'm talking about it. You can find my podcast, Popaholics, also on Twitter at Popaholics. We're on Instagram at PopaholicsCast. And of course, we have videos and audio recordings of our show on YouTube, youtube.com/Popaholics. Every Monday, we release our weekly upload in which we talk about the latest in pop culture and film news. And then every Wednesday, we release one of our main episodes, which is themed around something that's coming out in pop culture. To give you an example, We're wrapping up our Jurassic June. We did an entire month covering all the Jurassic Park sequels in honor of Jurassic Park Dominion. And we're about to enter our Taika Waititi Spotlight month because Thor Love and Thunder is coming out. So we're going to be going through his discography and covering all of those. And then most recently, now you can find me on carefulforspoilers.com. I'll be writing nerdy articles on James's website on a monthly basis. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, man, I am beyond honored to have you and Steve like officially writing for the website. Like, I love your writing styles. I love what you guys are going to bring to the website and bring to C4S overall. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
I appreciate
being
you
a part of
for giving me the opportunity. So thank you.
Of course, bro. Abe, it is so good to have you back, man. Like, it's been too long. I miss your insight on these shows and movies and shit. So tell the people where they can find you online.
Y'all can find me on Twitter at Prince_ALAWAL. That is also the same thing on Instagram. I've changed everything to kind of be homogeneous now. You can catch me live on Twitch Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Prince_ALAWAL is the Mad Prince himself. We play whatever, whenever, we have fun. Catch me basically if I show up here or at Anime Lately or anywhere else. It's just been a busy time, but I'm always around. I'm always available. Well, I won't say that. I'm always around is what I'll say. And, I love talking all things sports, anime, movies, films, manga, whatever, whenever, just hit me up on social media. We can always have a conversation, but it's always good to be here. I will be making my rounds onto the other shows I'm supposed to be on, but I'll see y'all when I see y'all, basically, is what I'll tell you, the fans. I'll see y'all when I see y'all.
Well, appreciate you making the time, bro. Vash, where can the people find you?
Look, I'm gonna keep it simple. If you're seeing me here, you know where to find me. Just support, like everything else we do. Subscribe, continue showing this to your grandma, to your uncle, to your cousins, to your best friend, to your ex-girlfriend, your ex-boyfriend. Show it to everyone you know, because you know what? We're entertaining ourselves. That's so straight and simple. Because if you find me here, you can find me everywhere else. Just follow these lovely gentlemen and lovely peer of ours everywhere else, because that's more important and what matters. That's it.
Based on the YouTube algorithm and data that James has collected, I actually do know that grandmothers are the largest demographic of people that watch the C4SVillains show. So I'm glad that you listed them first.
Of course.
Wait. I could be a sugar baby.
Please.
If y'all looking for a sugar baby now, I know you're watching this right
Grandmothers,
now.
reach out.
I'm 28. I currently live in California in the Bay. I'm a handsome black man, of course. I have the stereotypes about black men, and the good ones are true. So if you need some sugar, I'm willing to oblige.
This is a man in peak physical condition.
Yeah, if you need me, I can't run a 4 or 5 40, but I can run. I can lift as well, so I can take care of your every need. You need help getting up the stairs, I got you. We need to bring your wheelchair in, I got you. Just let me, and I cook. So if you need any sugar babies, I'm right here. Just email upper management, so that'll be email C4SVillains, and I'll be notified. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
I'll make sure to clip that for your sugar baby profile.
Oh God,
that's a nice OnlyFans clip.
Well, you guys can follow me all over social media at JB Exclusive. You want to find everything that I do, go to carefulforspoilers.com. You'll find articles from Chris, myself, Steve, and Mia, all on the website. Links to all of the podcasts on the C4S Podcast Network. The merch store, we got some new shirts, some new hoodies on there right now. Check out the Patreon. Consider supporting us on there. Again, all of you guys, thank you so much for joining me for this review, and we will see you guys on the next one.